Hey, hey, don't play right now. Go have a seat. Still do. You have a reference. I don't even want to know. No reference. Like teachers that like professional. Oh, take the virtual quiz. Or the invisibility. Dude, I didn't cheat in school because I feel like every time I'm like one of those people that always gets up. Like, oh, the one time I did cheat on no, I got caught. Oh. I was the only one. Everybody else was cheating. So I just I don't know why. It's like
Two. Is it up? Let me know when you get it up. All right, good people. Everybody in the room, thank y'all for coming out. Appreciate y'all. If you're not opposed to it, if you can make your way a little closer up to the front and make the Johnny come latelys be in the back, and y'all get a front row seat. Everybody on the stream, tell me, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Talk back to me. Let me know if you can hear us really good. We dialing in some audio. And so I just want to get a quick little check while we dialing in the audio. Let me know if you can hear us pretty good. They say yes. They say yes. Okay, great, great, great. Well, give us a couple more seconds. We're dialing in some more audio things, and then we'll be with you briefly. Go ahead, add to stream. Matter of fact, I'm gonna watch what y'all watching. I gotta turn my volume down because then it feedback. All right. Okay. We still dialing in a few things, but welcome to this first MD clinic. All right, Delwyn just let me know. He said we can see it now. Delwyn text me, so we good. I was gonna ask, but thank God for friends. All right, let me do this. First of all, again, welcome. Come on, Tyler. Welcome. Got a question. We got a few people online. Question for you all. Where you coming in from? Where you tuning in from? Matter of fact, I know where Julian's coming in from. Julian, where you coming in from? Chicago. Chicago's in the room. Thank you. Where you guys from? Tell me where you from.
Check.
South side of Chicago is in the room. Where you from, bro? Bolingbrook. West side. West side is over here. I don't do the west side. But you Bolingbrook, so you just passed.
West side represent.
Yeah, Trey, what are you doing? Thank you, Colette. All right, so we got some West Siders in the room. All right, let's see who online. They say Fort Myers, Florida. Come on, Florida. Brandon, St. Charles. Let's see. New Jersey in the building. Virginia in the building. Maryland is in the building. Indy. Delwyn says Chicago forever, but Grand Rapids right now. Y'all, can we give it up? Come on in, brother. Come on in. Can we give it up? We got somebody checking in from Berlin, Germany. Come on, can we give it up for that, y'all? Come on, y'all. What time is it in Germany? We got them coming in from New Mexico, Colorado Springs.
Let's go.
Come on.
Let's go.
What time is it over in Germany right now?
It's probably like 10
Sukos. Come on. It's 8 p.m. over there, y'all. Man, this is incredible, man. Like, God is faithful. Where you coming in from, brother? South side of Chicago is in the building.
We need some more West Siders. What's going on?
He said by way of West Side, though.
Okay.
By way of West Side. We don't really rock with West Siders, though.
We're going to share you, dog.
Dallas, Texas is in the building. Come on. All right, let me ask y'all this. How did you hear about the MD clinic? How did you hear about it? How did you find out about it?
And it's going to be super interactive. So
yeah,
we're not going to just talk the whole time.
No.
We're expecting you guys to participate.
Yeah, y'all doing the clinic. We actually came to here and listen and learn from y'all. Come on, X. Come on in. Come on.
Nah, don't sit in the back, bro.
All right, so Tyler, you got to help me with this. Calgary, Alberta? Where is that? Whoa, shout out to Canada. Come on, y'all. We international, Tyler. He came up one row.
Sebastian, shout out to Sebastian on
Providence. What is that?
Rhode Island.
Okay, Rhode Island. I'm not very geographically savvy, so you know what I'm saying?
I'm gonna help out with the geographic part.
All right, Chris said he saw it on LJ's story. Y'all, LJ is with us. Can you show him LJ? He's sitting somewhere chilling. Come on, show him LJ real quick. Show him where
LJ's hanging out.
Tracy's Insta with the worship hands. Shout out to Brandon again with the worship hands. LJ, can you wave at the people? It's a little delay, y'all, but that's okay.
There's a delay in here, yeah.
That's how. Never mind. Oh, they already changed it back. Okay, don't worry about it. It's okay. All right. All right, there you go. He's waving at the people. Thank you. All right, how did y'all hear about it? Vic, our brother Vic.
Shout out to Vic.
He's on tour right now with Jonathan and Mav and Kurt. Shout out to Vic. How did y'all hear about it? Come on, talk to us. Instagram. Everybody saw it on Instagram. Yeah,
Dang, Instagram is like the winning social media platform right
it
now.
really is. It really is. Yeah. Let's see. Lauren said he saw it on Instagram. Whose Instagram? You saw it on Tyler's Instagram? Come on,
Right.
talk to us. Let us know.
Where's my Instagram people? Everyone's like LJ Tracy, LJ Tracy. A little bit, a little bit.
Yeah, he saw it on both. Well, he probably saw it on all three. Yeah.
If you're following the people you should be following, you would have seen it multiple places.
That's true. Now, to his point with his judgmental self, if you're not already, follow all three of us. Follow me, follow Tyler, follow LJ. Y'all probably already following LJ. He said both. Lauren said both. Shout out both. Tay, what's up, brother? I was hoping you was gonna be here.
Deontay.
Yeah.
What's up, bro?
Shout out to y'all. All right, I got another question for you. What instrument are you representing today? What instrument is your primary, or maybe you got a few more, but what instrument are you representing? Keys in the building. Keys and drums. Drummers, and what would you say? And ranging. Come on now. Drums. Keys. Shout out to all the keys and the drummers. Tyler said much love, y'all. Lawrence is a drummer.
Bass.
Lawrence, where you coming in from? Jacob with the bass. Uh-oh, Tyler, they need your mic up on the stream.
I probably need to talk louder.
He
I'll
said,
just talk louder, y'all. How about that?
there you go. See, Tyler is not used to talking out in public spaces. He's used to talking into MD mics.
Yeah,
And
I'm
so
used
he-
to yelling like, go to the one. Let's build. That's what I'm used to yelling. Either I'm yelling like that. Or I'm just like,
Man, shout out to Will. He do it all. Keys, bass. What's up? We got a worship leader that play bass. Bryce on organ and keys. Davis, he says plays everything. Humble thyself, son. He said plays everything. And that's our man from Germany playing everything. Come on. That's what's up. We got drummers. I didn't hear anybody say guitar players. No guitar players online.
Just not at the
Brandon, do you play guitar at all? Come on, where the guitar players at? Chuck on bass. Let me ask y'all this. I ain't even plan on asking y'all this. Who the best MDs? Keys players, drummers, or bass players? Come on. Who the best MDs? Don't be biased because you play keys too, though. You
like
say drums?
Drummers?
Drummers.
Okay.
The only reason why I said that though is because like drummers kind of, especially if they sit in the back, they see everything. So it's like for me, especially if you know where you're going and navigating.
All right, pause with all of that. Can you hand me that other mic? Because I want them to hear what he said.
Thanks, Jay.
Come on. Lauren said drummers all day.
Drums all day.
Drummers all day. Right here. Yeah. All right, come on. Say what you said.
1, 2. All right. So
He said 1, 2. 1, 2, check. 1, 2, check. He about to rap, y'all.
Don't do that.
All right, go ahead.
No, what
It's
I was
okay.
saying-
No, that's okay.
What I was saying was, I would think drummers, because drummers visually, if they're seated in the back, they pretty much see everything. And if they have like the ability to know musically where they're going, navigation wise, they can be able to call certain situations if they see it. So I would say drummers.
Dope. Drummers. He said they got the best vantage point. Drummers got the best vantage point. Now, Jacob said keys players are the quarterbacks. And then Sebastian, first of all, you're hilarious, Sebastian. He said triangle players. Triangle players. Any triangle players in the room? Forgive me if I mispronounced your name, Miss Joham. He said, I might be biased, but bass sits in between melody, rhythm, and harmony. So I think he has a vote for bass players.
I'm not mad at bass player MDs at all. I'm not mad at all.
So I feel like bass player MDs, they have some incredible arrangements. Like, I love bass player arrangements on music. Like, so shout out to the bass players. I don't play bass, but shout out to the bass players. Delwyn said, I play a few things well enough. He play a few things well enough. Whoever's the best at multitasking. Oh, that's a good point. Multitasking. What's up, brother? What's your name? Ike, what's up,
Ike.
brother? Where you coming in from, Ike? Not far from here. So South Side Chicago? Wheaton. Uh-oh. That's
That's my
northwest.
direction. That counts as West Side. That counts as West Side.
That counts as West Side.
Counts as West Side. Thanks for coming in, Ike.
Yes, Ike. Ike, what do you play, or do you play any instruments?
I played a few, but
John, wake up, baby.
yeah, what's up? Yeah, I play keys, bass, and drums.
Oh, he's another.
Dope.
I do it all, guys. I do it all. All right. Yeah, come on, Christian. Welcome.
Welcome, Christian.
All right, it was another question I had for you guys.
Now come a little closer, bro. Come on up.
Come on up. Why everybody so scared to come on up?
It's a musician thing, because when I go into a church,
I always sit in the back.
I'll just sit in the back.
I always sit in the back. Yeah. I feel you. What was I gonna ask you? All right, any worship leaders like checking in?
Worship
I know I
leaders
saw
check
Sharon
in.
in there. I know Dylan is a worship leader. Any Brandon? Come on, where the worship leaders at?
Not in here. I
Where
guess.
they
Ashley's
not in
like-
this room.
Just me.
Ashley, trees.
Ashley the trees.
Come on for the Mrs.
Okay.
Say it again. Okay, Julian, periodically. Come on, Brittany. What's up, Britt? I was hoping moms
1,
and
2.
pops was gonna be here. Ashley, worship leader, check. I think autocorrect.
Worship leaders are a little low right now, but the numbers will probably pick up as we go.
Yeah,
hopefully.
they need to get in here because they cause us the most problems. Man, they need to be in here.
We don't want to
They
get too
the
far ahead
reason
of
why
ourselves.
we gotta have this conversation.
We don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, though, because we're gonna have some really. We're gonna. She said, "Mute everything."
Ashley is running sound, and she took offense to what I said, so she's muting everything.
Well, we're gonna have some good combos on some stuff like that. a
It
little
says
bit.
message restricted. She cussed me out online.
Retracted.
Oh man. Come on, y'all. Sharon, Britt, Dale, their comment. She said CP time, worship leader times. That is true. Like tech people be the first ones, bands be the next ones. Worship leaders be straggling on in. They be late. They don't be knowing the songs.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, y'all.
I'm trying not to
just
be too
playing.
shady. We don't want to be shady though.
I don't care. I'm from the South Side. I'll tell the truth. Come on, y'all. Welcome. Let me can you talk to the folk real quick? I'll be right back.
Yep. All right, who else we got in here? So, really quick, put in the chat or in the room, you can just tell me real quick, what church are you like associated with most of the time? Like, what's your main church you're playing at right now? Anyone? All Nations Aurora. Okay. All Nations Aurora. You don't have to pass the mic. I'll just talk it real quick. Anyone else? Soul City. All right. Christian, where you at? Mercy City. Okay. Anyone else? Churches?
Gospel Life Church.
Gospel Light Church.
Gospel Life.
Gotcha. Gospel Life. You guys. Jonathan is fresh out the bridge. How about you guys? Living Water Community Church. Okay. You guys? New Life Midway. Okay, yeah, I know a bunch of guys involved with the New Life stuff. Let's see. Anyone put anything here? ICF Berlin. Okay. Restoration Worship. Christ Community. Okay, yeah, I know some guys that play Christ Community, like Tracy. Highlands Fellowship from Jacob. New City Church from Ashley. Will says he is currently at Cross Point Assembly, and he's been praying about auditioning for Elevation.
LJ, you hear that? LJ, you hear that?
I was gonna say that.
LJ, did you hear that? Somebody trying to slide in your DM. Somebody trying to shoot their shot. They said
Cloudo, what's up, bro? Good to see you, bro.
they trying to get in on the roster.
Can you give him the mic real quick, Jay? Just real quick, Cloud. Just say
I'm gonna ask for a referral.
Y'all heard him say it again, LJ.
I said I'm gonna ask for a referral.
We got to check that resume. Check what you got.
Just say your name, where you're from, and what church you're currently working at.
Great. Claudel Williams. I am currently High Point Church and like possibly transitioning some other stuff in. But
Dope.
yeah.
Sweet, bro.
What's up, brother?
Play keys.
You MD from Keys?
Yes, I do MD from Keys. I learned from one of the best who is currently on stage right now.
Come on, bro.
Thanks, bro.
Yeah, I learned from my big brother Tracy for the last like 9 or 10 years, and definitely learned a lot from you, Tyler, over the last 5 or so years. But yeah,
it's all good, bro.
Grateful to be here.
Yeah, bro.
My
Appreciate
brother.
you, man.
Dope. I had another question for you all. Oh no, but before I do that, did everybody that's online and in the room, did you register? Yes. Everybody registered already? Great. If you got the link, can you do me a favor? Can you share the link? Just share the link to the stream. Everybody online, in the room, share the link.
Yep.
So,
If
matter
you're
of fact,
watching, share it.
share it with your worship leaders, because we about to let them have it. I'm kidding.
The front row isn't good enough? Not just playing.
Oh yeah.
Not just playing, man.
See, MDs, we see it all, man. We see it all. We pay attention to everything. Share the link for me, y'all, and then register again, because if you haven't, send it to your pastor too, y'all. Because y'all pastors need to hear some of this stuff. They probably be giving y'all a hard time about budgets and stuff. Like, they need to understand what all goes into this process, what goes into making their lives 10 times better. And so send it out, share the link, share it online, share it on your Instagram, share it, because Instagram obviously is the most prominent social media. Share it.
Yep. Text message works great too.
Yes, send it out in the text. Can I ask y'all this? Any creative directors or like senior leaders online? I know we got, musicians in the room, but any like creative directors or worship leaders online? Let me go back to the stream and let me see. Yep. Uh-oh, pressure, but no pressure. Come on, y'all, share it. Any creative directors or worship leaders in the room? And y'all, can we give it up to Eddie? Give it up to Eddie. Eddie graciously has welcomed us into the Praise House. Can we give it up to Mama Maddox for graciously hosting? If you don't know who Mama Maddox is, you probably know her sons, Leonard and Josiah Maddox. So this is Leonard and Josiah Maddox Church, and Mama Maddox graciously allowed us to host this here. So one more time, can we give it up for Mama Maddox?
Give it up.
Give it up to Josiah and Leonard. Yeah, they very graciously worked all of this out for us. Ben is a creative worship director. Shout out to the creative worship directors in the room. All right. Now, we gave it up for all those. Here's what I want everybody to do, online and in the room. Can we give a great, grandiose round of applause to all the MDs?
Yep. Clap for yourself.
Can we give it up for the MDs? Give it up for all the MDs. If you are an MD, if you've had an MD, good or bad, give it up for the MDs. If you aspire to be an MD, I saw one of the questions where someone said, what do you share with a younger musician? I think he said he was 15 years old. So we have somebody 15 years old that's already on this path. And I wish when I was 15, I had a space like this to learn and glean and grow from. But imagine a 15-year-old learning from master MDs like LJ and Tyler, and imagine what he'll be like 15 years from now. And so shout out to all the MDs. I just wanted to celebrate you all, because here's the truth about it. MDs are the real MVPs, y'all.
For real, the real MVP.
MDs are the real MVPs because MDs are the ones that take some of the most horrible ideas and try to make something out of it. MDs are the ones that take all these different elements and bring it all together. So let's shout out to the MDs for all that they do. As we get ready for this, I wanted to just kind of set the tone and set our perspective, set our minds, because MDs are so important to the entire operation of what happens. Specifically, let me say this. So this clinic, this gathering is designed for worship church music directors. There are some principles and some practices that you can take and apply in other settings, but this is intentionally, deliberately designed for worship musicians and worship music directors. So I just want to make sure we understand that. And it's part because Tyler was like, well, we only really rock with the church anyway. You know, all you heathens in that secular world, that's y'all have to deal with that on your own. No, I'm kidding. He didn't say that. I'm joking.
I sure didn't.
He didn't say that. He didn't say that. But this was something that I believe God really wanted us to intentionally and deliberately pour back into the church. And it's kind of interesting that a lot of the pop artists that you see these days, a lot of the R&B stars that you see these days, you know where they started? In church. In church. And church is that grooming platform. Church is that space where we can learn and grow and refine. And so again, this is a space intentionally designed for worship music directors. Come on, Nat. Come on. Shout out to Nat and M.
Yo, welcome.
We got our first female band directors / musicians walking in the room. Shout out to them.
Let's go.
And I wanted to just set the stage a little bit, because I can confidently say this, and brace yourself. Sometimes I say things that make people uncomfortable, but stay with me. I can confidently say this: not a single one of you, not a single one of us, not any of us, whether online or in the room, not a single one of us were born to be an MD. Why am I saying that? This is not the sum total of your life. That position, that title, that is not your purpose in life. And sometimes we get things misconstrued. We don't have things balanced properly. And we put all of our existence into something that is temporary. Titles are temporary. Matter of fact, if y'all taking notes, take that note. Titles are temporary. No one online or in this room was born to be an MD. That is a means to another end. It may be the vehicle to which you travel through. It may be the vehicle to which you use to get to wherever God has designed for you. But whether you are an MD, want to be an MD, you mad at your MD, whatever it may be, no one was born to be an MD. Why am I saying that? It's because we have to understand that everything we do should be with our eyes and our focus on not what's temporary, but what's eternal. Everything that we do should be with our eyes, our hearts, our attention focused on the one thing, the main thing. What is the one thing, the main thing? It's interesting. When Jesus was just 12, they said they went looking for him. And he said, what? I'm about my Father's business. He was so focused on his purpose that nothing else could distract him or deter him. And sometimes we are so adamant about a platform. We're so passionate about a position that we miss out. Hey, Tyler, I found out this. Many of us are very successful in things that we were never intended to do. Many of us are very successful in things that we were never even supposed to be doing. And so it's perhaps some of us in this room that's like, man, I know I'm an MD. I know I'm about to be the best MD in the world when you're supposed to be fixing computers or something somewhere. When you're supposed to be doing something possibly totally different. Now, and again, I told y'all, it may make you a little uncomfortable, but I have a responsibility to God first. To God first. And here's what I say. Titles and positions are temporary. My brother started a position 6 months ago. And already he's going through a transition. Watch this. Not because of anything he did wrong. Not because of anything that he did wrong. And if his whole life was revolving around that thing, he'll be crushed, demoralized, deflated, possibly even question his existence. And I have a hunch that some of us may have questioned our existence because someone rejected us, because someone denied us a position. Somebody said earlier that they was trying to become a part of Elevation's band. Now, what if there's not compatibility there? What if that don't work out? Does that mean that that person is not worth anything? No. No. And so again, I really want to set the stage because we're going to dig in deep. Tyler, LJ, they're going to dig in deep about what it entails to be an MD. But I don't want anyone to walk in here and walk out of here thinking that if you don't accomplish these things, if you don't do this, if you don't get to a mega church, if you don't get to whatever platform, then your life is not worth anything.
Exactly.
Because that's not the case. Some of us, I'm going to say this. I said titles are temporary. Outputs are eternal. What do I mean by that? They may change your position, but they can never change what you did. They can never change what you accomplished. What do I mean by that? Sometimes we say like, oh, I'm a Christian. Any Christians in the room? Christians? Yeah. Yeah, that's a title. Does your life reflect Christian? Does your life show that you're a Christian? Does your output, what you're doing, does your love show that you're a Christian? Or is it just a title? I was with my brother. Y'all may know him actually, Matt Jones. Anybody know Matt Jones? One of the best in the world in a number of different things. But it was me, Matt, and one of his neighbors, and we was walking downtown. And the guy was saying, like, man, them Christians, this, that, the other. He was riding them. He did not believe in it. He was letting them have it. I said, man, it's kind of like if I threw on a Chicago Bulls jersey. If I put on a Chicago Bulls jersey, does that mean I'm a Chicago Bulls player? No. I have to have the contract. I have to have I'll take the paycheck too. I'll take the rewards of it. But just because I throw on a suit, or just because I throw on a jersey, or just because I throw on the title, it doesn't mean I am that thing. What identifies you is how you love, how you live. And again, if your life is revolving around a thing that is temporary, then when that thing ceases to exist, you could potentially feel as though you cease to have any worth or value. And so many of us have fumbled not just the bag, pursuing the wrong things. We fumbled destinies, pursuing the wrong thing. Listen to me good. MDs have a very unique seat in the context of church and the church experience. MDs have a very unique responsibility. Y'all know the scriptures. The Bible says that when Saul was being tormented by the devil and demons, the Bible says that David played for him until the demons left. And so many of us have sat in the seat where many have come into the church house. Many have come into the church service battling big time demons. And the space was supposed to be conducive where those demons gotta flee. And many of us being distracted by, well, I want to play this chord, or I want to get this shine, I want to play this riff, I got to get this bump. Oh man, I don't know what context y'all come from. But there have been many times where we walk into church and they the musicians or the MDs are just so adamant about playing a bump. And somebody walked in with barely living. Somebody walked in barely making it. And they needed an encounter with God. And so we didn't just fumble the bag pursuing the wrong things. We fumbled lives. Because lives depend on what you do. Can we let that sink in a little bit? Lives, destinies depend on us being aligned with God. Some of y'all in the room know Tony Tillwell. Tony Tillwell, this was several years ago, and we was at a little church on the 60-something in Halston, and we walked in, and I was playing, and then after the service, he came up to me, he was like, man, I got to let you know. As you were playing, God gave me clarity about some things that I need to be doing. He said, I just want to thank you because as you were playing, God was just beginning to speak to me. Again, so many people's lives and the next decision that they make depend on us creating a space for them to hear from God, not for them to hear your latest chord that you learned. That makes sense, y'all? Again, I know y'all want to be like, yo, forget all of that. Show me how to work Ableton. I know y'all like, forget all of that. Show me how to arrange this. No, arrange your heart first. Declutter your heart. Declutter your mind.
I would say the most important things of being an MD or that, kind of position. A lot of the majority of what makes that work is happening off the stage. What we're doing on stage is only like a small fraction of what really it entails. Like Tracy was saying, your heart, the way you're going to serve God, that really is going to be the core of being an MD. Because you're like just. And it's like you're a pastor on stage almost because you're pastoring the people under you on and off, So it's not something, like he said, it's not something you're taking lightly. It's not something that, you just do for fun.
Totally.
Yeah.
And he said it's a lot about what happens off the stage. It's a lot about what happens when no one is looking. And can we be honest, because of the seat that we sit in, because of that responsibility, to whom much is given, much is required. We talked about others battling demons. We battle. It's a fight. It's a fight. It's a fight. And that's proven in the scriptures. We saw where David was playing demons away from Saul. David had some major demons coming toward him, starting with Saul. And so here we are. We trying to set our worship leaders up. Claudel, we trying to set our worship leaders up to win. And then they turning around trying to kill us. That might be LJ. Yeah, you can pull him. He in worship. We're trying to set our pastors up to win. And then we getting all of this opposition. That ain't the person. That's a spiritual battle that doesn't want you two to align. Doesn't want you all to be on the same page. Where did David get his might from? Where did he get his effectiveness from? He said from God. Your effectiveness is going to come from your alignment and your surrender and your submission to God. Not from learning whatever chords, whatever riffs, whatever arrangements, whatever Ableton. We can learn all the tricks of the trade and still be completely ineffective. And I got to answer to God, y'all. I have to answer to God. And so last thing I'm going to say before I turn it over is talent doesn't always translate. There are some very talented individuals. I said to you this way, Michael Jordan, arguably the greatest to ever play the game, right? We in Chicago. So most of them will probably say Michael Jordan is the...
We can go with that.
We can go with that, right? Arguably the greatest to ever play the game. How's that translating as an owner? Not too well for him. He ain't been doing too well as a manager of a team. As the owner of the team, it didn't quite work out that well for him so far. Why? Because that talent doesn't always translate. Matter of fact, Steve Kerr, he wasn't considered necessarily the most talented when he played. But now several championships in from managing a team. I want to submit this to all the potential MDs or all the current MDs. It's not so much about your talent, about that will translate. It's about how are you managing other talents? How are you managing other talents? And so all that being said, y'all ain't gotta like me. Y'all can be mad. I'm okay with that. But make sure your heart is not in the position of, I'm just trying to get on with LJ, Trey. Like all you talking about, forget all of that. I'm just trying to up my status. I'm just trying to up my resume. If we shift it to God, I'm trying to serve you. I'm trying to be better equipped to serve your kingdom. I wonder what would come from that. I wonder what would come from that. And so I'm actually going to pray, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I'm going to pray. God, I thank you. I thank you for this opportunity to gather. I thank you for this venue, for this space. I thank you for Mama Maddox. I thank you for this church, God. I pray that you will pour out a blessing into this house that they wouldn't have room enough to receive, God. I pray that you would pour out favor and provision in this house that they wouldn't have room enough to receive, God. I pray that your glory would fill this room, God. I pray that they would have an encounter with you that changes lives and changes eternities, God. I pray that you would do it for your glory, God. I pray for each and every individual that is in the room or online. I pray for each and every person that registered. I pray for every person that said, hey, will I be able to watch it later, God? I pray for every person that is either directly or indirectly connected to this, God. And I pray that you would give them exactly what they need. God, I pray that you would give them exactly what they need. If it is learning more skills with Ableton, God, if it is learning more about how to manage bands and how to work out arrangements and how to construct and build out sets, God, whatever it is, God, I pray that you would give them what they need. God, I pray that you would do the spiritual things that they don't even know they need, God. God, I pray that you would work it out for them. God, I pray that the battles that are going on in their lives, God, in their jobs, God, in their careers, God, I pray that you would work it out for them, God. You have the ability to change the heart of the pharaohs in their lives. The ones that may be abusing them or taking advantage of them, God, you have the ability to change their hearts and to release them from that oppression. God, I pray that they will walk out of this space, that they would walk out of these lies, and I pray that they would be liberated in their mind and hearts. God, I pray that you would give them new ideas, give them new melodies, God, give them new chord progressions, God, give them a new sound. For you are the God of creation. It is your character to create, and you created us in your image. And so, God, help us to be more like you in our ideas, God. No more carbon copies, God. No more just trying to be like somebody else, but help us to be who you created us to be. Give us the sound that you gave us uniquely. God, I pray that you would inspire the new songs, new lyrics. God, I pray that you would encourage the person that has felt like they didn't have enough worth. God, I pray that you would encourage the person that felt like they weren't good enough. God, I pray that you would send them some people to build them back up. God, I pray that we would have more of a community, more of some camaraderie, not competition. God, help us to be more aligned with you. Help us to lay down the things that distract us, deter us, and keep us from hearing you. God, I thank you for Tyler. I thank you for LJ. I thank you for their lives and their stories and their backgrounds and where you brought them from and where you're taking them into, God. God, I pray that you would pour out blessings upon blessings for them. Blessings upon blessings for their families, God. All these things I ask in your son Jesus' name. Let the church say amen. Come on, let the church say amen. Tyler. Anything you want to share with them?
How much? Or do you want to do LJ first and then swing back around?
Let's do that since he's already on. Yeah, let's do that. Because I feel like
A lot of what I have to say might be
Yep.
through the
Yep.
Q&As
Yep.
too. So.
Yep. All right, so let me see. Anybody got y'all laptops? Y'all got your laptops and things? Anybody taking notes? Y'all taking notes? Great, great, great. All right, so here's what we about to do. LJ, are you ready for us?
Been ready.
He said, I've been ready. Oh, well, excuse me. No.
He said, Tyler and Tracy, shut up.
Just been prepared. That's all.
Well, first of all, thank you for joining us, my brother.
Absolutely, man.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So honored to have you with us. You can keep it on him. It's okay. And that camera was very crooked. But thank you again for joining us. How you feeling, LJ?
I feel great, man. I mean, I feel really good because you did half of the hard work. You set up everything and got all the elephants out of the room so we could really talk.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, are we robbing you from any rehearsals or meetings right now?
No, this is
Okay.
where I need to be right now.
Great, great, great. Well, can you do me a favor? For those that don't know who LJ Mitchell is, can you let the people know, let the world know, who is LJ?
LJ is my real name is Lloyd George Mitchell Jr. So,
Wow. Okay, hold on. Let's run that back.
Lloyd George Mitchell Jr. It's a very British name. My parents are from Guyana, South America. Immigrated to Canada 1978, so I'm Canadian with that very British name. The name LJ, it was just a nickname. My sister gave it to me and it stuck. Lloyd and Junior, my dad's senior. I am 41. That's hard to imagine. 1 years old. I would say, and no lie, I've been born in the church. I was literally born in the church. And I've been playing since about the age of 5. I've been, like you said, man, MD is not like it's not like a title. It's not something that I aspired to or went to school for. So I don't even know. As a matter of fact, when I was coming up, that term wasn't even really known. You were the band leader. You were the you were the band leader. You were the guy that kept everything together and ran rehearsals. And over these past couple of years, this term MD has kind of solidified itself into the church, good and bad.
Well, LJ, here's the thing about it, though. To that very point, the truth of the matter is, a lot of us in here and online, we're not really MDs. If we really get into it, which I hope you will at some point, get into what does it really mean to be an MD? What does that actually entail? What are those responsibilities of an MD? Because the truth of the matter is, we think because we got a mic, we the MD.
Well, I'm trying to watch. I can't see your room, so all I can see is me.
Let's do this then. The computer with him on, kind of turn it around so he can. All right, Tyler's going to help that.
That would be awesome.
Nevertheless, how many of y'all knew? How many of y'all knew that LJ was Canadian? Nah, look at that. Nobody knew. I knew, but nobody knew that LJ was Canadian. Can you tell us about what it was like to grow up in church in Canada, or where did you grow up?
Well, look, I grew up Baptist. And my dad was the song leader. That's what he called. So I grew up around hymns. And you know, I'm gonna say whatever God tells me to say in every moment. Don't despise your beginnings. Because my story will let you know that it was actually hymns that got me to elevation.
Wow.
So started playing hymns probably at about 6, 7. So I have a deep love and respect for them. I feel like they're the foundation of the church. Um, and Well, LJ, how can you say that? Because you're one of those churches that sing all that new stuff. And how can you say that? Because the Bible says one generation to another shall praise the Lord and his mighty exploits.
Yes,
And
sir.
if you look at it, what David was saying and what we're saying, we're just saying a different. We're just expressing the
Yep.
same thing different way.
Yep.
So why would I disrespect what David said, or what Bach played, or what Fanny Crosby wrote down, or Anya Crouch, or any of these people? Why would I disrespect what they said? Because I didn't like it, per se. So, anyways, that was free. Grew up on hymns, and then our family we transitioned to a non-denominational church at about 16. Truth be told,
Still in
is
Canada?
yep, in Canada. Truth be told, oh, sorry, let me throw this in. I'm classically trained, classical
Nice.
piano trained. So while all my friends got to go play baseball, I get to go play Bach. And didn't like it until something clicked one day. Um, Age of 16, I always say that, oh, my family, we transitioned to a non-denominational church. The truth is, I got arrested for break, enter, and theft, and had to do community service. So I ended up going to the church at the time where they allowed me to do my hours. And
LJ,
yeah,
you was a thug, bro.
you know what? No, I wasn't. I wasn't, man. I was actually a church
Let's
kid.
go.
I was a church kid growing up. I was struggling to find identity. So I got mixed up in. I didn't get mixed up because I happen to have a respect for a lot of rap, but a lot of stuff that I had allowed to just meditate in my mind, and what I was listening to at the time told me that the way to success in this life was, you know, to be disrespectful or to be a product of my environment. And so I was trying to live that out in Canada. And just so you know, we don't got no guns in Canada. Nobody ain't anything. We have free healthcare. We ain't like there wasn't even really hoods per se. There was a couple bad spots, but that's changed a lot now. But when I was coming up, it was wild. And so um at 16, I got arrested, and I'll never forget being in the police station looking at my mom and dad crying because they had done their best to raise up their son. And I made a choice in that moment that I was going to get saved. So I'd been around God a lot, but at that moment, I was going to get saved. I went home, took all my music because I'd always been in music, uh, commission, whinings, a cappella, Gaithers, Lionel Lewis, Lionel Harris, Andre, I mean, BB and CC, Take Six, Fred, all of that stuff, Kirk. And but I had this other side of me that was Wu-Tang and OGC and Helter Skelter and Meth and Busta Rhymes and stuff. And so I made a choice, and I took all my music, all my hip hop, and I threw it in the garbage one day. My best friend was with me, and he said, LJ, he said, what are you doing, bro? You can't do that. And I said, man, if it ain't good enough for me to listen to right now, it ain't good enough for you to listen to right now. So I threw it out. And we're both in our 40s, and he still remembers that story to this day. So I get into church. I'm cleaning garbages, I'm cleaning floors, I'm vacuuming. And on my lunch break, I would play on the piano, and nobody hears this name but Mike Taylor. So if you want to know who's responsible for LJ, Mike Taylor. Mike Taylor is responsible for LJ.
Where is he
Mike
from?
Taylor, originally England.
Oh wow.
But he was the music director of our church at the time, worship pastor more like. And he heard me playing one day, and he took me under his wing, and he showed me everything that I know, stuff that I still go back to this day. our you said we don't grow up aspire like being a music director isn't what we should aspire to. And you're 1,000% right. We should aspire to hearing well done, good and faithful servant at the end of the day.
Mm.
So music director is synonymous with servant.
Mm.
And that's it. And I would say this, my greatest contribution to my team is the power of my invisibility.
Wow. Pause.
Sorry.
Did y'all get that? Can you say that again, LJ?
Said the greatest contribution to my team, what I consider my superhero strength is to be invisible.
Wow. Wow.
Write that down if you're writing it down.
Now, there are pros and there are cons with that.
Woo.
Let's start with the cons.
Come on.
The cons are that my flesh doesn't like that.
Mm.
My flesh likes the accolade of, oh, that was dope, or I heard that shot, or that was crazy, or that worked out nice, or that transition was amazing. So my flesh does like that. And at times I gotta tell it, shut up. I have good days, I have bad days. The pro of it though is understanding this, that our reward as an MD is the process.
Mm.
Sooner you understand that, is the healthier you'll be. Our goal, our gratification comes in the process of taking something that, like you said, was crazy or like doesn't really make sense to go together. That could be songs, that could be band members, that could be for a service flow, that could be all of that. It's taking something like that and putting it in God's hands, and making it become something else. That is your reward. It's silent. Let me help you. The Instagram likes and the followers and all that stuff, it's fleeting. It's not going to fill you. It's just it's here today, gone tomorrow. And if people's praise of you is what fuels you, then their displeasure in you is what's going to kill you.
My.
So
amazing.
Yeah, so let me flip back. So I'm 16, 17, I'm playing God's Property. Probably one of Kurt Franklin's greatest projects ever. It has Stomp
GP,
on it.
are you with me?
Oh yes. It was and it's crazy. Was it Kirk? It has Kevin Bond. If you're in Chicago and you don't know who Kevin Bond is, you probably just need to leave the room. Because
he's a legend.
Kevin Bond is single-handedly, he's I've been able to meet him twice, and both times I acted like a little kid in his presence, because it just he was the guy that I wanted to be. One of them. Anyways,
so let's let them know who he is. So Kevin Bond is a world-renowned musician, keyboard player, organist. He's produced some of the greatest artists you've ever heard from, as he mentioned, Kirk and Marvin, and just the list goes on. Kevin Bond, and he's from here. His family actually is still here. Keep it on him. His family is from here. And yeah, Kevin Bond is a legend.
Kevin Bond. Byron Butler's on that too. Yeah, so you name it. Bobby Sparks. I'll stop now. So, but I used to listen to that every day on the bus. I guess I really started what really being a music director is about. At the end of the day, it's your ability to hear God in a moment, in every moment. So someone asked me what my job is. That's my job. My job is to be able to hear God in every moment. Now, what that requires is to be able to hear him in silence
Mm.
when it's quiet, because God don't always shout. God isn't always screaming. I find that the times that I've heard God the most are have been in my quiet times. And I could give you all the spiritual and all the biblical background for it. I would just say this: the greatest gift as a music director is to be able to hear God's voice for yourself.
Mm.
You have an ability. I know that we went around the room and we talked about instrumentalists and who plays what. That's great. Consider it your access point. You could sit in your room and play and minister before the Lord. Look how many times it says that in the Bible. He ministered before the Lord. He didn't minister before the people. He ministered before the Lord. And so David ministered before the Lord. You know,
Say it. Say
David,
it. Say it. Say it.
There's so much I wanted to say because I started talking about David and I'm like, oh my God. Okay.
Mm.
So David ministered before the Lord, i.e., he, and you alluded to the story. David played and the presence of God came and Saul's torment left. David was an open vessel and an open conduit in that moment. David knew what to play in that moment. David was attuned to the Spirit in that moment. Most of the downfalls that I hear music directors say, and I'm not picking on anybody who said this, but question number one: what are your favorite shouts, progressions? An innocent question. Not mad at it. If I was to give you my surface answer, I don't have a favorite. What I'm trying to do is play what is God's favorite in that moment. That's what I'm trying to do.
Yes,
so I happen to like slash chords. Okay, so I wrote down practically, I don't know, 5/7, 4/6, 1/5. But that only works in context. So if I'm it only works in context, and it only works if it's the right thing for the moment. So rather than bottle myself down with trying to learn progressions and stuff like that, I would rather learn how to hear and then translate what I hear in my playing. The danger with having a go-to or a certain set of chords is you end up boxing yourself in, and you're just waiting for that moment to play that thing. To my brothers that love to bounce and love to shout, I ain't got no problem with shouting. I do have a problem when shouting isn't called for. I do have a problem when you don't know what you're shouting about. So
I thought I was bad.
Oh man, I mean, it's just that you're right. I believe God's raising up a generation of us that will help the younger generation, let them know, man, that ain't gonna do nothing for you.
Yep.
It's just gonna make you sweaty and you're gonna get your chops up, but it ain't gonna do nothing for you if God ain't in it. So because I lived it. I'm talking from experience. Shout on Sunday, fornicate on Monday.
Wow.
Sorry, I don't know who's in the
Say it.
So let me just
some of us were shouting on Sunday and we're fornicating on Sunday.
Yeah. So yeah. Let me see here. Go to don't box yourself in looking for when you could play. The other danger with a favorite thing is it could be, I'm not saying this is you or whoever asked this question, but it could be that you could be waiting for that opportunity, all experience to play that progression. So let me see. Let me keep going forward. So when I first became MD, I can't get off of Mike Taylor.
Well, pause right there, because I think that's an important thing for everybody in here to really internalize, is the impact that a mentor have. He can't get off of his mentor. If you do not have a mentor, find one. We put in there, if anybody will be open to like one-on-one mentorship. Why did I say that? Is because I recognize how valuable it is to have someone that's been where you're trying to go. So if you don't have that person, pray about it. Seek God about it and be willing to submit yourself to that process. Because I imagine, LJ, that Mike probably challenged you in some ways that maybe you weren't comfortable with initially.
Yeah, he told me all the things that I didn't want to hear in love. And so because he saw the potential in me, let's do this. There was a question that was asked about building teams. What ways have you found success in building? And everything I'm saying is from music director perspective. I would say that building any team is a farmer's game. And think about a farmer. A farmer has a field, and literally a farmer has a field and seed. Period. You think about it, right? He has a place to do his work and seed to put in the ground. A farmer knows the potential of the seed. Ask yourself, as you're dealing with your teams and as you're building your teams, ask God to show you people's potential. There ain't nothing better than seeing someone's potential before seeing someone's potential before they realize their potential. Pastor Mike did that for me. He saw my potential. We had a moment before COVID, maybe 4 years or 3 or 4 years ago, where I was playing in an arena and I saw him standing in the middle of the song. I couldn't wait till it was done. And I shot right to him and gave him a hug, and he wept and he looked at me and he said, "This is what I always saw."
Wow.
And so it challenged me now as I'm looking at people. I've stopped looking for people to come pre-made. I've stopped looking for people to have it all together. I've just started asking God for raw. Give them to me in the rawest form. Show me their potential. So because if I could see that, then I could work with it. If I could see it, then I'll have grace for it. It's like farmers, like they focus on the potential, and then they're very meticulous with the process. And that is a word that isn't popular right now. I started MDing probably at about 18 in our context of what you would consider MDing. That's 2 years of sitting and learning. And when I say I MD'd the first time at 18, it meant that Pastor Mike went away for a weekend and I got to fill in. That was what the intent of MDing was. And I am now 41. I've been MDing at Elevation Church for 6 years. So that takes me to 35. So between 18 to 35 has been all processed to get to this point.
Wow. 18 to 35. Math wizards. Who the math wizards in the room? How many years is that? 17 years of process.
Can I give you something free?
Yes, sir. All of this is for free.
The process is faster when the process goes faster and smoother when when you actually take the time to say, well, hey, what's my role in this? What is my role in this? What can I control? What have I contributed to this point in this process? I need to say this. Some of the frustration that some MDs that I know have is because, and I'm gonna come down someone's lane right now, but they might not like me, they might not follow me, but hey, some of the problems that some people have is because they don't know what's in their bag, so they've only focused on one aspect of what God has given them, and now they're trapped by it because they can't do anything else. So how many MDs have I known and talked to that, or how many church cats do I know that have played and didn't do anything with themselves in school, or didn't do anything with themselves practically because they said, and it's cute, and I get it, and I understand, man, I understand. Well, LJ, if you're not all in, if you don't only have one plan A, then all you're gonna do is have plan A, and you're gonna have a bunch of plan Bs and stuff like that. I get that, but I just don't know where that example was ever shown in scripture. Jesus Christ was a carpenter. Jesus the Christ was a carpenter, so he was bivocation. He had two things, and from 12 until 30, he wasn't. We don't know what he was doing.
It's a mystery. He was building houses somewhere.
That's exactly what he was doing, building his biceps. So I try and tell my younger generation of MDs. I'm like, you got to know the different things that God has given you. I'm gonna talk to you about this practically in music, and I'm also gonna talk to you about this practically in life. Let's talk about music. There was a question that someone asked me about, what do you do when you're in a church? And I feel like the basic boiling down of the question was, I'm a gospel cat in a CCM church, and they ain't feeling my gospel stuff in this CCM church. Let me come down everybody's pathway with that one. I was talking to my wife about this. Most of the problem, let me start from gospel because I'm a gospel head. So let me start here. I'm talking to my own people. I feel like gospel has lost its special. It's lost what made it special because it's become so common. So let me say that practically. When I talk to a player who is a gospel cat and all he does is gospel runs, tritones, progressions, plays all over the top, does all that other stuff like that, I'm not mad at the style. But I'm saying that I challenge them to be like, do you know when to use that? And do you know when not to use that? Because if you're always using that, then that's all you're going to be. Try and simplify your playing. Try and be as creative as you were playing all that gospel stuff, playing a couple chords. But it basically boils down to, as the musician, am I playing what's right for the moment? And I wonder if our gospel cat, if they took that approach, how special it would be, because then you wouldn't be sitting there as a gospel player going, man, they don't appreciate all these chops. LJ, look at these chops. Look at all these riffs that I could do. They mad at me. And then this is a common one that I hear. Oh, that CCM stuff is just taking over. And we need to get back to the true essence of what music is. All this gospel stuff. And you got Mav out here watering down gospel and stuff like that. I could talk about this stuff because they're my friends. I did a project with them. So and I know all the stuff that they hear. And it just makes me roll my eyes, because I'm like, since when are we not called to be all things to all people?
My.
That applies to music as well. Be a musician that can be all things to all people. Show up at Jensen Franklin's church and be able to play. Down to Bishop Jake's church and be able to play. Build yourself in a way that you know how to use your artillery. Because let's talk about David. We know that David liked weapons. He liked stones to throw. He had a staff, and he had a harp. I don't know how the story would read if it said David went up to Goliath and tried to beat him down with a staff. I don't know how the story would read if it said a demon came upon Saul, and so David took his slingshot and threw a stone and hit Saul right in the forehead. I also don't know how it would read if it said a lion and a bear came after David and he strummed it with a harp. So there you have it, that David, who is our, for all intents and purposes, rebuilt the temple of worship, rebuilt the tabernacle of worship and all stuff like that. We have a guy who understands that he has three things, that he had three different things that he could use in a moment. I'm beginning to ask God and all my people who are MDs and all my people who are just in life in general, what else has God given you that you're ignoring? Because you just want this one thing. You're talking to a guy who has a degree in biology. So you're talking to a guy who worked in a Walmart warehouse for years and could drive heavy machinery and stuff like that. Talking to a guy who almost went into pharmacy and still played. I'm not saying it to brag. I'm saying it because it's only by the grace of God that I didn't know what weapon I would need in what season of my life. So can I get to 30 maybe? And I hope this is helping because I'm trying to teach and tell the story all at the same time so that you guys don't see that it was all
you helping them.
Take your time.
From 20 to 30, I got better playing, wanted to have my own group, just like Israel and New Breed. Went from MDing and playing to actually leading worship and played guitar and ended up becoming a worship leader of the church like that. But had Eli's son's symptoms. Was not self-controlled. And had a name that was synonymous with that thing, and I see it as a meme right now, and I kind of chuckle at it, but it kind of makes me sad at the same time of like when there's like usually like a female that says like the worst type of person that you could date is a musician and then they break it down of like who's the worst. I usually find that keyboard players are the worst, for whatever reason.
Wait a minute, what are we talking about? Why we got to be worse?
Yeah, I don't know, but I just find that they say that the keyboard singers and keyboard players are the worst. I don't know why that is, but I think I was that guy. Because I didn't understand God's presence, and I just took it for granted a lot of times. Just because I could play and just because I could hit a C# chord and play Alpha and Omega and things would happen. Hey man, God will use your gift. There's no doubt about that. God will use your gift because God is not gonna be mocked, and He is not gonna not get His glory. The challenge is that God loves you more than your gift. God loves you more than your gift. Here's a good part to say this. It's that same question, by the way. I'm only on part 2. So let me make sure I say, building your team, take the position of a farmer. Look for potential, understand process, look for opportunities of nurturing. Let me say this: know when to get out of the way. Know when to get out of the way. One of my biggest hangups was trying to hold on to something and not knowing the joy in getting out of the way. My crew's on my family Elevation. They're going on tour right now. I'm not going on this run. I'm staying home. But Scotty, who I love dearly, He was a keyboard player at one of our Gaston campuses, and he served on production. And again, Scotty came and played one time. I heard him play, and I'm like, oh my God, this dude's a beast. And did whatever I could in my hand to position him in a way, because all I'm trying to do is let him springboard off my shoulders. That's it. That's the name of the game. And so, you know, he's on the road and he's killing it right now. He's doing his thing, and I'm so proud of him. But that releasing that need of being the guy or the keys guy or being that, releasing that, God has allowed that to get filled in other ways. Honestly, man, my 2 daughters are my world right now. And so I wouldn't be able to do that and be here for them. I got one who's going to start kindergarten soon. I want to say this as sincerely as possible. I will have other opportunities to play other venues, other areas, other arenas, and that'll be great. My daughter is going to go to kindergarten for the first time once in her life. And I don't know what I would do with myself if I missed that. I would never get that opportunity again.
Wow.
Trying to hold on to, I got to be the guy. I got to be the man. You know, just something to think about.
Pause. So, LJ.
Yep.
Yeah. So it's 2 things that you just shared that I really want to underscore. The first thing is how to not be intimidated by someone else's potential or skill or ability. You talked about the other guy, and like you hearing him like, oh man, this kid is a beast, or this person can really play. What do you suggest to someone? Now, there's 2 angles here. One, we're talking to MDs, right? So there's one where you're the one serving and pouring in and giving. What about the ones that's up and coming? So it's 2 sides of it. One, what do you do if you feel like the person that you're reporting to or above you is intimidated by what you can do? And then 2, the other side, like what if you see someone with a tremendous amount of potential and ability and talent? How do you fight the temptation to be intimidated by what they have the ability to do?
A great question. I wish someone would have told me that the answer is found in where I place my identity.
My.
So how do I navigate this? All right, let's do it like this. Someone asked about race and cultivating that in church, and I asked God about that. I was like, you know, that's a real question because I don't want to be ignorant to it because it's real. But help me to dig a little deeper. And this is gonna make sense in a minute, I promise. You know, God's response to me was, you know, I've never called anyone by skin color. If you can show me a passage of scripture in the Bible where God said, and Moses, I've called you because you're black. LJ, what you saying? I'm saying that God sees you, he calls you by name, and he calls you by name, and your name is your identity. Your name, the thing that God gives you is your identity. Well, no, the thing that God gave you, you have to let me say it like this. There are a lot of people looking at me upside down right now. If you put your identity in anything but God, you are going to fall apart.
Yeah.
If you put your identity in your skin color, you're going to fall apart. If you put your identity in your talent, you're going to fall apart. The calling is always synonymous with name. Abraham, I've called you. David, I've called you. Saul, I've called you. So God calls you out. But name is synonymous with character. And so those are things that you control. Where am I going with this? Control your character. Control your character. Control yourself. Because if you can control yourself, then it will give you focus on how to control the other scenarios. So if I know whose I am, if I know who I am, then the person that is above me that I think is suppressing me, I'm able to deal with it accurately. If I don't know who I am, I'm going to be fighting the person.
Yeah.
We don't wrestle flesh and blood, man.
Yeah.
So that's how you do. That's how because every time I've dealt with it blow for blow, trying to deal with my flesh and deal with whatever, I've only ended up worse or ended up worse off. Like like it's only made things worse because you act out, and then that behavior or that either disrespect or the lash out or the thing that you said, that action gets attached to your name, and then you become the guy who is this. So and honestly, it takes, you can have a slew of great things going on. It just takes one bad thing to spoil it. Just one. You think you guys are gonna want to hear from me if some scandal comes out in my, like, for real? For real. Nobody ain't gonna remember about all these albums and all this other stuff and that he played behind whatever more like that. My character flaw is gonna outshine. That's why we keep saying to you, build your character. Proverbs 18, I would highlight that. I would be reading that proverb, especially as an MD. I would be reading that at least once a week, because I guarantee you some scenario that you're going through is going to be, the answer is going to be in that proverb. That's where, the tongue has the powers of life and death. Those who choose life eat of its fruit. From the fruit of their mouths, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of the lips, they're satisfied. Or the words of gossip are like choice morsels. They go down even to the most inner parts. Or one who is slack in his work is a brother to one who destroys. All of that stuff is in Proverbs. I didn't make that stuff up. All that stuff is in Proverbs. And it all talks about character building. So when you know who you are, you don't get intimidated by what's coming. As a matter of fact, when you know who you are, the person coming up, you're looking at them and going, exactly what I said. How do I lay down enough of my life, or how do I lay down the mistakes, not just the perfection? How do I lay down things so that, because I don't want him to misstep? So recently, my wife and I, we started like an e-group where to the guys that I believe God's given me, they're all in this phase of life where they're amazing musicians. Some of them just got married. They're young in their marriages. Some of them are engaged. Some of them are still trying to figure it all out. One of them has a spouse who's overseas fighting right now for our country. And I've realized that it's about, like, I'm a lot less intimidated by how Scott plays when I'm more concerned with how he's doing. I'm a lot less intimidated. I could care, like, I miss him when he's not playing with me, because I'm caring about what's going on in his life. Hear what I've said. I've removed myself out of the equation. I've removed LJ out of the equation, and I'm just focusing on that person. You take that perspective, and you never lose, man. You'll never lose, because you're always looking for a better way to help the next person. And anybody who's in a company, anybody, pastor, CEO, any company that I've ever been a part of, anytime you've had somebody who's able to duplicate and triple themselves, they're so valuable. So valuable. You're never going to be without work. You'll never be without a job once you have that as your core, as being as a replicator. you'll lose your job if you're holding on. You'll lose yourself if you're fighting, you're brushing up against trying to hold on and not move on. I think that's my answer.
I feel that. I want to ask you the second one, and then I'm gonna shift it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So the second thing is you talked about basically you deferring, not doing the tour so that you can be home with your family, right? So you have two competing values happening right here. Whereas touring or performing or doing something that you are called to do versus being present with your family, your wife, your children. Neither of these items are inherently bad. How does one navigate when there are competing values of like from the perspective of one, you already having a family, you already have an established career, but what do you do when you're maybe there's someone that's like, man, I actually want a family. At the same time, I'm like, I love what I do and I want to get better at what I do. Or other side of it is like, I have a family and I want to be present, but like I also got to take care of my family. And this is how I take care of my family. Or, you know what I mean? Like, so how do you navigate these competing values?
Man, understand seasons, man. That's like the understand seasons, understand what season you're currently in. Because my season isn't the same as someone else's season. The grace that I have for this season of my life isn't the same as the grace that someone else has over their life for that season. Put some blinders on. Stop. And when I say put some blinders on, I mean just control what you look at. We live in a day and age where our focus is everyone's competing for our focus all the time. And one of the biggest culprits is this stuff called Instagram, where we're like looking to see what the next person got, and the next person got, and the next person got, and all of that stuff kind of plays into dissatisfaction, and learning to be content with where you are. I would say that helps. What I haven't said about staying home is understanding calling. And before LJ was ever music director of Elevation Church, LJ was because I believe in calling. My first job title was sermon music director, which meant that when Pastor Stephen was there, I was there. And so that, but I mean, when I was, let me tell the weight behind that statement. When I was 30, I prayed a very stupid prayer, and it's Molly music. It's Molly music and Kurt Franklin's fault. It's on a song called "Give Me That." Give me joy I can't explain. Peace, alleys of pain. Give me that. Give me that. Dumb prayer. Don't pray it if you don't want it to come true, because when it comes true, it ain't gonna be nice. So he gave it to me, all right. And within a week, I was no longer engaged, didn't have a job, and was not knowing what I had to do with myself. I say that within a week because I gave God permission. I think for some time he had been trying to pry things out of my hands, but he took everything away in that moment. From 30 to 32, I worked in a Walmart warehouse every day, listening to Marvin Sapp telling me there's a king in me. Feel like a king. At 32 to 33, I left Toronto and went to Dubai to play music in a secular band because I was really running from myself, because I didn't want to deal with the mess that I had created in Toronto. So I ran away to Dubai thinking that it was going to be all right. And Dubai sedated it for a little bit, but I still ended up having to look myself in the mirror and deal with my character. And the craziest thing happened the moment I opened my palm and said, God, let me stop blaming people. Let me stop running away from the scenario. Let me let you into this. The moment I did that is the moment my life turned around. Sometimes I wonder if I had just done that earlier, would my life had turned around a lot faster. That's why I say that it's a lot less about what people are doing on and around you and whatever. And it all has to do with you, what God has placed in you and what he's trying to get out of you. In that season, I met my beautiful wife. In that season, I clicked on to Elevation Church online in Dubai. and heard my pastor say, doesn't matter where you've been, doesn't matter what you've done, God loves you and he has a plan for you.
Wow.
And I heard that voice. And I would love to tell you that the story went, I flew back home and then hopped in a car and drove down to Charlotte. Nope. Went to Calgary. Went to Calgary where I became a pharmacist. Was working towards pharmacy, and I didn't have a church, but woke up every morning and was just practicing and playing to no audience. As a matter of fact, I was playing along to my pastor online, and he didn't know. So we didn't know each other at all in Calgary.
Wow.
Had got married.
Wow.
This is why. So remember, I heard the voice in
Wow.
Dubai. Went to Calgary. He would watch online, would fuss at the keyboard player who was there at the time because he could never play any of these games because he'd go into Amazing Grace and everybody would freak out or they wouldn't play it the right way. And I could see his frustration or just different things. I would say in that season, I was learning God's voice, and I was also learning my pastor's voice. Music directors, you are in a church with a man or a woman of God who God has given them a vision for. When you submit to that house, their vision becomes yours for that house. If you have a different vision than what's going on in that house, that is vision. That is two visions. And do you know who's wrong in that equation? You are. You are wrong in that equation because you said that you were going to submit to that man of God. So if you're frustrated with that man of God, then you have two options: submit to the man of God or woman of God, or leave. LJ, I'm being abused. LJ, I'm not being treated properly. Have you found a way to respectfully say that? Because if you find a way to respectfully say it and then it doesn't change, then at that point you leave. But can you leave, or are you bound to this because you need it, because you're refusing to use a weapon, or you're refusing to use another aspect of yourself that God has called you to because you're bound to the paycheck that comes from this place? Talk to me, somebody.
Say it again.
That is usually when I hear that, like, musician frustration, that music director frustration, a lot of it is boiled down to you're actually bound because
the golden handcuffs is what they call them.
The golden handcuffs. All I want for this generation is to be free of the golden handcuffs, because the beauty of being in one accord with your pastor or with your house is something that is so very special. The story goes that after Calgary, I went to Toronto and served at my church, served at the Elevation GTA campus, and they had been looking for somebody who could be a sermon music director. There's something that my pastor gave me. Y'all see that? It's a watch. It's a watch. It's set to Ephesians 3:20. That's one of his favorite scriptures. And it says, God sent you at an appointed time. I had been praying for someone like you for 10 years.
Wow.
And it didn't come to pass until 10 years. So while I was in Calgary playing, Pastor was in Charlotte praying.
Wow.
I was being processed, and he was helping in the process because he was praying. So when I talked to you about calling, when I got down to Charlotte, and let me just say, I didn't become music director overnight. Trust is earned, man. You cannot give what you don't have. So if you don't have respect, don't expect it to be given to you. You won't get what you can't give. Simple simple way I live. So if I want my band to have servant's heart, then guess who has to demonstrate the
Yep.
most
Yep.
being being willing to serve? Me. I can't be a diva and expect my team to serve.
Absolutely. Say it
If
again.
I want-
Just say it again.
If I want my team to have servants' hearts, I can't be a diva and expect my team to serve.
Starts with you.
It starts with you. You know, one of the things I'm most proud of is my band stays on stage when my pastor's preaching.
Mm.
My band stay with my pastor when he's preaching.
Mm.
Because that's what it's about, really.
Well, I
We're
mean,
just-
to that point though, LJ, it's
Mhm.
actually something where, because your pastor, he get pretty hyped too sometimes, and you all are able to complement what's happening in the room, complement the moment, complement what's happening, because they are present and not in the back eating or sleeping.
Hey man, being present is half the battle. Someone asked me, what's going through your mind when your pastor's preaching? The last thing he said.
Mm.
That's what's going through my mind. The last thing that he said. Because I'll pray before I go on stage. And sometimes I don't even get to talk to my pastor at all. At all. But I will say that sometimes I go, and I'm telling you all my secrets. I'll find a moment, I'll find a corner, and I'll be like, God, this is your day, and I'm in it. This is your day, and I happen to be in it. You're giving me breath to be in this day. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do the best of my ability. You're giving me all the talents and all the gift that I need for this moment. Your Holy Spirit is within me. Now, God, the same Holy Spirit that's in me is the same one that's in my pastor. So therefore, if I'm listening to you, then we on the same page. By that. So allow me to minister effectively. 9 times, I mean, every time. The only times that I've been off is when I haven't been in that mindset. When I have had the mindset of, oh yeah, man, if he tunes up, I'm gonna play this, and this. And then you end up getting a reprimand of being like, what were you thinking?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't in that moment.
Yeah.
So it wasn't the right thing to do.
It's so interesting, and I'm gonna shift us because that music director role, historically, we've had a different kind of hierarchy of how the infrastructure of church is. And sometimes it's like pastor and ministers in that regard, then like worship leader, right? Then music director, bands, right? But the reality is, a lot of times that music director responsibility is something that has to be closer to that top, because it's a marriage and it complements one another so much to where if you don't have that accessibility and that proximity, then you could be disconnected from what's happening. And so I appreciate that. And it was another thing, LJ, I wanted to share with you, because you said that you were in process during that time while Pastor was praying. But the truth of the matter is they were in process too. Because culture has shifted so much so that now it was conducive for where you were going to take it. Because if we're honest, again, I'm going to speak broader. Culture wasn't where it is now, where we have the more bridged expressions of worship, right? 10 years ago, it was very monolith in its expressions. It was very focused in a particular area. Several things has happened over the years, from the George Floyds to the Emmanuel Gardners and the different things that happened in our world that brought the church to a more of a sensitivity and awareness to that division that you talked about, the divisions of cultures and the divisions of ethnic backgrounds. And now we have in the church world where a lot of the prominent mega churches, and I'm gonna just say it, white churches, are like, oh, now we actually need to be more inclusive. We actually need to be more diverse in our expressions. And so now you have more churches adapting to that. And even, again, respectfully, even Elevation, like, it has since really shifted quite a bit from how it used to be 10 years ago.
Here's what you could always tell, and you'll watch and you'll know. You could always tell a pastor who's always had it in him versus somebody who thinks that they need to do it because it's the right thing to do at the current
Yes, sir.
Here's why I say that. Because much of the unfortunate stuff that we see is a learned behavior, or it's been a way how someone has been brought up for so many years. And so now a lot of these ministers they're in the pinnacle of their lives, trying to unlearn a bunch of stuff that they didn't know that they were learning in the first place. I consider I'm blessed. I have a pastor who, and I know this from I have a pastor who was the only white male in his gospel choir growing up. So I have a pastor who, and I can't speak for everybody else's, and that's not my place. That's not me. But I have a pastor who if you ain't careful, he can go blow for blow for you with greatest choirs and greatest songs ever and things like that. The first text he ever sent, one of the first texts he ever sent me was, "God Wants a Yes" by James Hall is a top 10 gospel song of all time. You have to be a gospel head to know who even James Hall is, let alone. But he said when I think it was probably maybe 2 or 3 years after I got there, because I'm not trying to say that I know I had a part to play in shifting and helping shift culture and stuff like that. When I first got in, playing slash chords was like, we don't do this. We don't we don't really do that. But what I had to, again, this is the thing. What I had to hear was, God, what are they really saying? What they were really saying is, I don't understand. So, well, then I have two choices in that moment. Do I get mad and buck up and fight? Or do I say, hey, let me show you that you could do this too? And so, now that we're doing this stuff, I just can't ignore the process. It's been like 5 years of it. But when we did Evidence, the album where we took all the stuff, and it was my pastor's idea. What if we take some of these songs and make them gospel? I love gospel. What if we did that? And we did it, and did the project, and it was fun. It was great. Israel came in, and Ty was on it. It was real cool. And I remember asking him, I was like, so when are we doing Evidence chapter 3? When are we doing the next one? He said, don't make buildings out of things that were only meant to be scaffolding. So my heart for my church is that we can do gospel song 2, rock song 3, a classic song 4 for that week. Maybe one week we'll just do all gospel. Maybe one week we'll just all do CCM. The goal isn't to be the church that does. The goal is to be the church. So when you have that mentality running the ship, it makes it. But again, that is a music director and worship director. Chris and the whole team that hear the voice, understand it, and are get on the same page with your pastor. This is where we're going. That's why at the same breath we'll do Rattle, and then we'll do Shall Not Want. Not to brag. Yeah, that's who we are, though. Yeah. But it took process, and it took having conversations. It took being patient. It took fundamentals. It took pulling your bass players aside and being like, hey man, I know that you guys love 4 strings, but I'm gonna need that low B string. So can you guys maybe
And I'm gonna need you to put the pick down and play finger bass.
Yeah. You know, but then it also took going to the guys and be like, hey man, I'm gonna need you to put that 6 string down and play with a pick.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I love that. And I hope that for everybody like that's watching in the room, that there's a shift, because we're gonna get ready to shift into some more practical, sort of mechanical things. But like, I need us to understand how important the philosophical and the theological things are that produce the practical, mechanical things, like the arrangements and the other things. It's gonna come. But if this heart is not right, if the ideas and the intent and the motives behind it is not right, it's going to lead you into hitting a wall. You just keep hitting that wall. You'll be unsatisfied. You'll be disappointed. You'll be frustrated. You'll be ready to fight your pastors, fight your worship leaders. But you have to understand, this is the foundation to which all of these other ideas come from. All of the other arrangements, all of those things come from the foundation of, okay, God, what do you want me to do? How you want me to do it? What is your perspective of the matter? Does it make sense, y'all? All right. So I want to shift us to now some more practical, mechanical stuff. And then we're going to get into some Ableton stuff too. But let me first say again, LJ, Lloyd, Lloyd George, thank you, my brother. Thank you. Can we give it up for LJ, y'all?
Absolutely, man.
Incredible. And offline, we could talk about how parallel some of our stories are. I got arrested at 17 too, and had some things shifted for me as well. Again, we could talk about that offline. I ain't telling these people my business like you did. But I want to do this. John, where are you, John? Where's that mic that we had in here? All right, Claudio got it. All right, let me open it up to some questions, and I'll check the online as well. All right, y'all. Any questions? Now, y'all heard all the philosophical, theological, emotional, psychological things. Are there any practical, logistical, mechanical certain questions that you may have for me, LJ, or Tyler? And I meant to allow Tyler and I to kind of give a little background, a little story into us, but it's
been good though.
Yeah, it's okay. Any questions? Go ahead, Ike.
Yeah. Oh, man, I just hit myself in the face with this mic. You can tell I don't use these. Oh, my goodness. Man, really appreciated your words, LJ. I love that. I had a question for you, and I guess if anybody would want to answer, how do you know when you've got a two-vision problem or an opportunity to lead up in teamwork? You know what I mean? Like, hey, pastor, like this is something we can do. How do you know when you're dealing with a whole other vision, or when you're dealing with something that is just an opportunity for more teamwork? But it'll be tough to get there.
So I'll rephrase that and try to. He said, "How do you know?" Switch back to LJ. How do you know when it's a vision or idea that can be complementary to the vision, or is something that will be contradictory to the vision, right? Bring division as opposed to more provision to the vision.
It gets very hard to listen to anybody's suggestion when they don't do the last thing that you asked them to do well. So, this is just what I've learned. And so practically, am I in the position that I'm in? Practically, am I doing everything that's been asked of me in this season, and am I doing it well? If the answer is no, then before I get to what I think would be better, let me do what's asked of me in the season. And that goes to that submission thing.
Yep.
Because submission is the key to opening the door to hear the next thing that you have. So that, like, ask yourself, and you know what? I might be talking to a person who's like, yeah, I'm doing that. Great. Then let's move on to the next phase. So if you're doing all of that stuff, then the next thing I would say is leaders like solutions. They don't like to hear problems. So if there's a problem, bring the solution. Don't bring the problem, because there's lots of problems. Bring the solution. Try that.
Yeah.
Try that. What can I give you as a practical example? Ableton. So problem, Ableton had become the driver of the worship experience. So that meant that we'd be in church playing, and almost like worship got halted because Ableton stopped, or the loops weren't right, or this and that, and blah, blah, blah. And so it became a problem for my pastor, because why is it that we just can't keep the thing going? Because, and then the answer would kind of be, Ableton and this and that and blah, 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 blah. Honestly, I think what we started finding out at the root of what the issue was. The root of the issue was that Ableton had almost become like this default mechanism for us. So we started bringing God a default worship. We started bringing our church team a default thing. I'm only using it as an example to say. So a solution was, well, let's develop a way that Ableton now will have its place, and let's develop language and flow so that we can actually break away from having Ableton be this commanding. Speaking from experience, when you get asked the question of, hey, this isn't working out, can you fix it? When I brought it was Ableton's problem, the answer wasn't too nice. When I got brought up, when the solution came, when the question came of why X, Y, and Z, and then I brought this, and you brought the solution, then they were more open to hearing. I very rarely do you find yourself in divisive situations when you pull yourself out of it. When you don't make it about you, you very rarely find yourself in divisive things. When you make it about you, you find yourself at that crossroad. And I think that is what's helped me realize, well, am I being divisive, or am I submitting to the vision? I am not I'm not saying be abused. I'm not saying be taken advantage of. I am not saying any of those things, because you have a right to boundaries, and you have a right to voice all of those things and make sure that you say that. So don't hear me saying that it's okay if someone, if they ain't respecting, people ain't respecting your time, or they just, all of that stuff. But usually when it comes to those, like, that's rubbing me the wrong way, or this and that, try and see it at a higher level.
Yeah.
Take yourself out of it.
Tyler, what you gonna say?
No, just probably one thing that I've learned over the years is sometimes there are just simple signs that my heart or my vision isn't aligning, and maybe it was aligned at first. Maybe we were on the same page. Then maybe something happened where they started making decisions a different way. Maybe I'm starting to be called away. I've found sometimes that I'm in a place where God is requiring me was requiring me to change, to move differently. And sometimes I'll push back, like, I'm happy where I'm at. Everything's going really well, but you'll start to feel like you were mentioning, you start feeling a division, or you'll feel a splitting in that. And I've seen that more pain and hurt will come from staying. And the healthiest thing for me when I had went through something like that was to leave. And I look back and I was like, man, I would have saved so much time and energy and resources if I had been listening to God in the first place. Like LJ was saying, like Tracy has been saying, as an MD, you got to put yourself in a position to hear from God. And we can talk, about all the different ways to do that. But once you're able to hear from God, then you can save yourself even getting to the point where it becomes division. Because you'll know already, I should have moved. And like I said, speaking from experience, once you know that your calling is starting to split, or God's calling you to something different, or the seasons are changing in that way, in my opinion, it's better to listen to God and don't force something together that shouldn't be together.
Yeah. I'll also say this. So I was serving at a church, large church, traditionally one way of doing things. And they asked me to bring in New Direction. I know New Direction. Well, they asked me to bring in a choir. I selected New Direction, whatever. I had brought in New Direction. It was for a specific weekend, a very specific thing we were doing. And God led me to a song, whatever. We was going to do the song. Y'all know how we go. We do sound check, we do run through, we do rehearsal, we do the whole thing. So we doing run through, we're doing the song, and the producer basically said he wanted to do a different song. So we have to now figure out a new song with this choir that is out of their element. All this whole entire thing is out of the norm. And so he wanted to do a different song. We tried a couple different songs, whatever. It wasn't quite working out. Now we was doing run through, and the senior leader is in the room, and he like, yo, what is going on? And so like I'm at the back of my keyboard and I'm fighting like, man, this is not what it's supposed to be. However, I'm trying to respect my producer who made this decision. And eventually I was like, all right, God, I'm do what you tell me to do. So I went over and I told, they were having their little huddle up, and I said, hey, I think we should be doing X. He like, well, let's do it. The senior leader, senior pastor said, all right, well, let's try it. We did it. Next week, I'm in the office and one of the other campus pastors walked by. He was like, Tracy? I'm like, yeah. He was like, hey, I just left the meeting. And the senior leader, senior pastor, he was like, they were going to do something different. And you insisted on doing this. And that was the right call. That was the right call. And I say that because there was a lot of things happening in that moment, but there was some tension of like my producer said do X. But my God consciousness was saying do Y. And what happened was we went with what I suggested, and they were able to look back in hindsight and say, okay, yeah, that was the right call. What that then opened up was so much trust equity to where from that point on, they almost never questioned any decision that I would present because the trust had been built. Prior to that moment, there was so much trust equity already established. I had been there for years. I had been, and this is something I was going to say, LJ, when you talk about submission worked both ways, right? So I have an idea that I want to submit, but have you submitted? Does that make sense? Like, I want to submit this idea, but have I submitted to the process? Have I submitted to leadership? And so I first went there as a gospel musician, like, with what I knew about gospel, but I went in like, I just want to learn. I just want to soak. And I'm going to say this, the greatest gift that I have had is being one that's willing to just soak it all in. Just soak it all in. So again, I went there for years, all right, I'm just going to play the 1-5 pad. I'm not going to play any substitutes. I'm not going to play anything else. I'm going to just play this. Because that's what the moment called for. That's what they were used to. That's what it was. And I had the privilege of just sitting and learning from other music directors of that culture, of that style, whatever. So for years I did that. And then I started subtly introducing other things. He talked about the slash chord, subtly introducing other things. And the more I did that subtly and progressively, incrementally, by year 5, by year whatever, now I'm not just the musician that came in. Now I have so much trust that now I'm the music director. And whatever ideas, whatever it is, they trust that I have everyone's best interest in heart. Because when I could have been doing this 10 years ago, I submitted to what they had going on. And so again, like a lot of that is, have you built the trust equity to make a recommendation or a suggestion that the leaders or whoever else it would be who has to respond to that, that they would trust that, you know what, he's actually with us. He's actually for us. Go ahead, LJ.
I gotta hop on something that you said, because there's both of the scenarios that both of you guys brought up of leaving and suggesting your idea. What we didn't tell them is how. And so that is what I find is missing. So in the case of the first scenario, if God is calling you to leave somewhere, well, how do you leave?
Flip tables over and throw the computer at them when you walk out.
Well, you guys thought I was joking when that person wrote, "Oh, I'm considering in my heart to audition for Elevation." Hey man, I am no one to say whether or not God is calling somebody to leave another scenario, whatever one like that. But you better believe that the sphere is so small that I would ask about you and leave well.
Yes.
100%.
Yes.
That's the thing that people fail to, right? If God says, hey, you know what, man, my time is up, my season is up in this area, because it's seed time and harvest. It's the reality of it.
Yep.
Leave well.
Yes.
Don't leave, because the way how you leave is going to follow you to the next thing. And if any one of these 3 music directors get a call and be like, hey man, this guy is leaving, the first thing I'm doing is, why did you leave? Because the reason that you left, you're bringing that over to me. There's that. And the second thing is, Tracy, what you didn't tell the people is how you brought that suggestion up. Because a lot of the times the approach is what gets you the answer. Yeah. If you're mad and if you come up to the person and the producer's like, I don't think we should do that. And you come up to the producer and you're like, well, hey man, I did this and that and blah, 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 and blase, blase, blase. They are not even hearing what you said.
Not a word.
They're not hearing a word that you said. Yep. And that is kind of like a lot of it of like, that's why I was saying about self-control and being able to understand your stuff is like, okay, I believe God is telling me something. Hey, let me explain it in this way where where I'm self-controlled, where I'm da. And then people go, oh, you know what? That's right. Yep. So because you guys aren't saying is a method of like, well, God told me something, so I'm just gonna go with the person and they're gonna have to do that. Yep. You didn't say that, and you didn't say, oh, I'm just gonna leave because of whatever. Yeah. Just want to make that clear.
Yeah. And so that gets into another skill that we kind of don't put enough attention into is our communication skills. How do we communicate effectively? Which that is something that should be practiced, as Tyler said, outside of Sunday moments, outside of the worship moments, when you're communicating with your spouse or when you're communicating with your friends, how effectively are you communicating? Because that is a very important skill when it comes to music directing, not just in the spontaneous moments of calling out 6514 or any of those other things, but how to communicate vision, how to communicate values. And the last thing I'll say to your question, Ike, is this. I remember when my manager told me that they were in a moment and it was highly anointing and it was happening, but because that planning center clock said X, he got out of that situation and went to something else. And the senior leader went to him and said, this is what we came for. This is what we're here for. Now, nobody else, if you knew that senior leader, would have ever thought that he would have advocated for diverting or going against what was on the schedule. But that's what he said. And so I knew when I went into my conversation, like, you want this. You want these sort of moments, and so you have to be able to tie whatever your vision is into their vision. Be able to communicate with them in their own language, in their own dreams, and what they wanted. And that's how you'll be able to infuse those ideas and not just disregard it or throw it away, right? What's another one, y'all? Somebody online had asked something. Go ahead, Tom. Yeah. Let me take this one, and then I'm gonna go to in the room. What are some things you did and things that have helped you posture your heart more into serving and being versus being seen as an MD? LJ, we talked about it, as you said, from a big picture way. Same way you just did. How do we posture our hearts? What are the practical things that we do to submit our hearts to that?
The thing that has helped me posture my heart towards God the most is understanding his character towards me and understanding his initial reaction towards me. I'm already loved. I'm not trying to earn his affection. I'm not trying to earn his approval. I'm not trying to earn anything. It's already given to me. And so that makes me then want to invite him into everything. And I think that posturing my heart, what I'm really saying is I'm opening myself up to God in every moment. And it's not just on the stage. It's everywhere. It's in my car. It's on this call. It's when I'm going to go to my barbecue in a minute, like everything, all of that stuff. It's constantly being open and posturing yourself. I used to believe that 6:15 every morning is where I'm going to meet God. Well, then what happens at 7:35? Did you leave God in your room? So I'm like, but I grew up like that. I grew up, wake up in the morning, 6:15, and I'm not saying that you don't need a dedicated time to
connect,
pray and connect with God. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is take that connection all the way through the day.
Yeah.
That is how I posture myself.
Yeah.
I always realize that he's always listening and he's always watching and he's always talking.
That's good.
That's good. Go ahead, Tyler.
Just something that I've done is obviously this is something actually LJ did touch on briefly. Was he's talking about how easy it is to get caught up in what we do. Like, I can play this chord or I can do this kind of thing. And obviously pride is an easy way just to get entangled into that whole thing. For me, it's more about or at least having that serving heart is like, is my mindset like, how do I defeat the pride, or how do I take the things I would be boasting on and like turn that around and just and I found out that at least for me personally, Esdras, developing that servant's heart was to just get involved more in actually serving. Like maybe I'd look at myself and say, hey, I'm too good to go out and help my church. I don't know, Saturday cleanup or whatever kind of activities they're doing. A lot of the musicians are like, oh, I'm not participating in the outside the church activities because, I'm meant to be on the stage.
Yep.
And that was, when I was younger, that was something that I would kind of like have in my head, like, I'm here for rehearsal, service, that's it. Instead, I was like, you know what? I need to put myself in places where I'm not the leader. I'm showing up and raking leaves or painting the local school or things like that. I think that was just, for me, that was like a good first step just to get into, because if people don't serve, if you're used to just doing your own thing, if you're used to just living life just to meet your end, then just anything almost helps to start breaking that away, because it'll take time. It'll
Yep.
take time. It's not going to happen overnight.
Yep.
But in my experience, just serving sometimes will help get you into the habit of enjoying it, and then it starts translating more places.
Yep. And the last thing I'll add to that is this: read your word. It's a double-edged sword, sharpening and searching through motives and intent. It'll gotta do that. Like, God will get rid of all of the things that that corrupts our worship, that pollutes the worship. Like, gotta do it. The more you pursue him, the more he purifies us. The more you pursue him through his word, the more he detoxes us of those things. Emily has sent in this question. She said, how do you handle when a musician does not want to submit to how you're leading the band?
Wow.
My. I'm gonna share this one, and then I'm gonna give it to Tyler LJ. So we was doing version 1 conference, and I called something, and in the moment the drummer made an executive decision to not do what I said do. And so in the moment, you have to be present, you have to stay in the moment and whatever. And so after we got done, I pulled him to the side and I said, hey man, hey, we ride together, we die together. Like, even if I'm 1000% wrong, okay, we gonna go down together. It's not gonna be a moment of contention in that moment where it's like, do I want to do what this MD said do? And just to give a little more context, I was brought in as a guest MD. I didn't even know them like that. They didn't know me like that. And so there was no trust built in that regard, right? So this was just like straight up in that moment. And I'll share this part too. I had that conversation where it was just a straight up frank conversation with the drummer. And because his heart was at least somewhat receptive to it, some time later, he just came back to me, like, while we were still out there doing the conference, like, man, thank you. I needed that. And so sometimes it's just a simple conversation to reestablish what the values and the standard is. And the standard is, if I say go to A right now, I don't care if we're in C sharp and it doesn't make sense to you, do it. Period. Because the truth of the matter is, sometimes that's how it is with God. Like, he'll tell you to go to this church making $200. And it's like, that doesn't make sense, God. I have these responsibilities. But you have to be able to trust that he knows what he's doing. And so again, in the absence of that trust, that communication of, hey, like, even if it don't make sense, just trust me. Like, how that communication. And I know that it may be a little difficult when, like, you're younger and you're a female, and so you have all of these different gravitational pulls going in a different direction. Be confident in who you are and what God called you to do, and be willing to have those uncomfortable conversations. LJ, Tyler, anything you want to add to that?
LJ, go first.
Well, have the conversation. There's nothing. Keep your cool.
Yeah.
In the moment.
Yeah.
Many a times I've lost my cool, and that doesn't help.
I can't imagine you losing your cool, LJ.
Man, but the worst thing about it is when you lose your cool, it's on you.
Oh my God.
When you lose your cool, it's on you, man. Like, it doesn't help anybody. I remember screaming at a drummer one time. Screaming to the point of they heard it in the front office and came and got me and was like, what were you doing? Hey man, end of the day, I thought I was invoking I thought I was being a leader. No, I was being an idiot. And so you deal with it in the moment. I would, but right before you're about to go talk to somebody, think to yourself, how could I have made that? What could I have done in that moment? How could I have better prepared? Sometimes you can't prepare. Just give somebody something to be like, hey man, in this, we don't, like you said, we ride or die together, man. This is what we do. You want to get to the person who asked the question. you want your musicians and the people that's serving with you to follow you right off the cliff.
Mhm.
That's what
Mhm.
that's the amount of trust that you want with them. Rather, even better, you want your guys to, and your band people to know you so well that they know what you meant,
Yep.
what you
Yep.
said.
Yep. Yep.
Because there have been times when I'll get caught up in the moment and
Mhm.
I'll say to these jokers on the stage, 7, and they're like, no, he actually meant 4.
or
But
like contextually, like you say 7, but you mean flat 7. And because there's a relationship, there's some context, everybody know, like, oh, he's not saying natural 7, flat 7, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
You want them to know you so well, man.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing like that unity.
Yeah.
In that
Yep.
band, yeah.
Yeah.
But have a conversation.
Had a conversation.
Yeah, real quick, I'll just add. Way back, I was a younger MD. I was at a church, new at the church. I was first just there playing. Then I began to MD, which was a little different for them. And out the gate, I would sometimes make calls. You know, obviously had to ease them into it, so I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't,
Yep.
I know one of the questions we got was like, "What's too much MDing? What's too little MDing?"
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't going crazy. Little stuff here and there, just to kind of work into it. And I had a particular musician who just couldn't get with it. Anything, simple things. Hey, let's swell here, fade out, little things. It just wasn't clicking. I had to go to them and I was like, hey, what seems to be the problem? Or, well, I probably worded it a little bit nicer. I probably was more of like,
what's wrong with you, man?
in literal words, I probably was saying something along the lines of, hey, I'm trying to help us to be on the same page. I feel like we're not connecting somewhere. So what can we do to make this better? What can we do where me and you're on the same page, man? And they were like, I'm just not comfortable with you MDing. And I was like, hey, I appreciate the honesty first, And I said that, hey, we're in a place where the worship pastor and the pastor have given me the authority to be in this position. Obviously, based on what you said back to me, that's not something you're comfortable with. What can we do? Where can we meet to make this make sense? Because the goal is to have unity on stage, and that's gone if we're not on the same page. Like LJ and Tracy were saying, if I call something wrong or something bad happened, we're just going to go down together.
Oh yes.
So,
oh yes.
And then and this came down to, we ended up just having to build a better relationship.
Yeah.
And that came down to communication. So it's like, I know that if you're younger and even, being a female, it could be tough if, you're MDing at a church and the bass player is like a 50-year-old white guy or something like that. It could be a little uncomfortable. I'm not saying that that's you, but I feel like it might just take some time. If it's something really crazy and it's like something that's really uncomfortable and continues, I would say just talk to your pastor, talk to your leaders about the best way to go about handling that type of situation. Because I'm trying not to talk too much, but
it's okay.
But there are sometimes there are things that have people around us to help us, and sometimes doing something on your own, you can go only so far. But when you have a group of people, you can go even further. So obviously, always operating in love and.
It's obvious he was operating in love. There's no other way that he could be operating.
But yeah, I had to, sometimes you just have to get other people involved. If it's really bad, I'll say, talk to your worship pastor or the person who empowered you in this position.
Exactly.
Sometimes needs to help communicate to that team. Yeah, that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I think that's a very important note that really needs to be underscored is like there's a chain of command and there's accountability within that. There's also support within that when you have everything operating the way that it's supposed to be operating. So if you've been empowered as the music director, then there's somebody that appointed you and assigned you to that. And you all need to have synergy. You all need to have support so that, as you said, and even I think LJ mentioned this earlier, where there's a sense of trust in that authority that like I've been empowered to do this. And if you don't respect me, at least respect the ones that did empower me. And again, that comes with time. So yes. Tyler, can you get ready to teach us something from your laptop? I'm gonna shift us into some Ableton stuff because you may be able to take this home right now and then go set up for tomorrow's service. Like, oh snap, Tyler just showed me how to set this click up or set this loop up or set this up so that we can do some stuff tomorrow. So I'm gonna shift us a little bit into that, and then we'll do that for a little bit. Anybody, matter of fact, Tyler, can you just show us your Ableton session real quick?
Yep.
3. Yep. Thank you, son. Can y'all give it up for my son back there?
Yeah, hopefully it's not too blurry. Obviously, it's going to be going out over the stream.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what the quality is looking like right now.
It's gonna come up, and if you, it'll get there. Hold on, let me do this.
All right, cool. I will preface this by saying there are about 1 to 2 million different ways to use Ableton.
The
Maybe
way Tyler
more.
does it, I do it differently. My other brother, Chikon, he does it differently. And so, yes.
I'm sure LJ does it differently.
LJ probably does it differently as well. Because, wait, LJ, you all are actually running Ableton from one campus and streaming like somehow to all the other campuses simultaneously. Is that correct?
I mean, first of all, we have a person who runs Ableton. That's the gift. That's a gift.
Yes.
From the Lord.
Yes.
So we have a person who runs Ableton. They have a primary and a secondary computer. The primary is routed into 8 stereo channels that we send. Well, sorry, 4 or 6 channels that we send main console. From there, we add the sermon, the AR mics, and whoever's leading, and it gets summed up, and then it goes across to all our campuses on a 2-minute delay. There's a 2-minute delay.
So again, just for those of us that are not quite privy to all of this, LJ is at his campus conducting the band and the team from his campus. Then 50 miles away, maybe 20 miles away, they're running Ableton, and it's a 2-minute delay, but they're all running parallel simultaneously together on a separate system, so that the other campuses and the main campus, they're all able to align with one another, so that when it comes time for the pastor to speak, they're all now getting that broadcast of his message. How many campuses are y'all doing this with?
Oh, they're gonna kill me that I should know this. I believe it's 21. I believe it's 21 campuses, and then that doesn't include pop-ups.
Slow down, bro. Hold on. Did y'all hear that? 21 campuses are being streamlined from their one. Even if it was 2 campuses doing this, what is going on? But I think that's really important to underscore the massive power within that little screen y'all saw a couple seconds ago in Ableton, where you could literally open up an entire world of possibilities through that machine. And so that's why we really wanted to dedicate some time and attention to this, because some of us don't have the most resources and don't have like a 5-6 piece band and 6-8 vocalists and you can really like do a lot if you explore some things within Ableton. Well, so before we get into it, LJ is going to take off. Can we all just give a huge round of applause to LJ? Online, in the room, give it up for LJ. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and you're busy. Y'all, he got to prepare for like 30-some campuses to be worshiping. And he made time to be with us today. So thank you. We really appreciate you.
Let's do it again, man. For real.
Hey, man, don't tempt me. Don't tempt me with a good time. Yes, we're gonna do it again. Anything you want to say to everybody before you get out of here?
Man, do your best as you go to church tomorrow to be present in that moment. There are people, God's depending on you. There are people depending on you wherever you are. God doesn't want perfection. He wants you. Love everyone, man. Love one another. That sounds so basic, but just learn to love people.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you, LJ. I'm going to pray before you get out of here. God, I thank you for our brother LJ. Thank you for the way that you have wired him, the way that you have knitted him to be the man that he is, the servant that he is, the father that he is, the husband that he is, the music director that he is, the musician that he is, the pharmacist that he is. God, you have woven him into a man of many skills and abilities, yet he has a heart that is so humble and so pure. And so, God, we thank you for that. God, I pray that you would add back to him 10 times over all that he poured out to us today, God. I pray that you would add back to him 100 times over all that he shared with us today, God. I pray that you would speak into the parts of him that maybe he didn't share today, God. I pray that you would speak into the parts of him that maybe from past times or things that haven't quite yet worked out yet, God. I pray that you would do it miraculously, do it and give him this mile marker of, you know what, there was this one day when I was streaming with some people from Chicago and something happened. And from that point on, things were better. And so, God, I pray that you would do it, not for us and not for our glory, but for your glory, God. I pray that you would do it all in your son, Jesus' name. And let the church say,
amen.
Amen. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Love you, take care.
All right, you too. All right. So does anybody need a brain break? Like 30 seconds or okay. All right, great. They go right in. All right. So what we're going to do is if you have your laptop and you got Ableton on your laptop, we're going to pull those out. Online or in the room, if you have it, we're going to pull it out. And we're going to shift over to...
Yeah, I know we kind of passed
3.
Let me see. Way past 3. So hopefully, just give us some more just a couple little extra minutes.
Yeah, and respectfully, if you have to leave, then safe travels on thy way. But I do want to make sure that we get into this a little bit. Can y'all see it enough? And if you need to come closer, you can come closer.
Yep, we got 3 seats here. We got 4 seats right there.
Yeah.
And for the record, also, this is not going to be I wouldn't call this the most in-depth Ableton.
This is not the master class.
I don't want to talk about everything under the sun, but like I just want to just present you guys with maybe some ideas or maybe something you have never thought of before that would help you guys in your workflow just for Sundays and any other services.
Yep. And can I do 2 things? Mama Maddox, can you come here? Come on, Mom. So come on, Mama. 1. Come on, Mama, y'all. So this is Mama Maddox. This is her church. So you all can thank her again. We did this before you got here, but thank you for allowing us to be here. She is an incredibly anointed and sweet woman of God. And she has 5 children, 2 of which you all may be familiar with, Leonard and Josiah Maddox, world-renowned musicians. Matter of fact, Josiah and Leonard, they actually at Lollapalooza right now, playing for major artists. And so, matter of fact, Josiah is the reason why we're even doing this. I woke up one morning, I was like thinking about doing this and thinking about like sharing some stuff. And I got a text message from him like, bro, I need you to help me with X. Help me out with some Ableton stuff. And I was like, bro, you just confirmed what I know God was telling me to do. I called Tyler. I said, Tyler, I think we should be doing this. He said, all right, let's do it. And so that's how all of this came about. One, it was started with me waking up and God saying, hey, do X. Josiah texted me and saying, hey, can you help me with Y? Me calling Tyler, and he said, yes. Here we are now, right? And so thank you, Mama, for allowing
Let's clap it up. Let's clap it up.
And then I also want to shout out the Copeland's family from Virginia. Did I say right? Thank you, pastors, and thank y'all for coming out, and they made their way here. And he's gonna bless us before we leave. But all right, Tyler.
Oh yes.
All right, pause. Let me ask you this question: who's relatively, remotely, kind of, somewhat familiar with Ableton?
That's a great question.
Great.
Everyone.
So we all have some sort of basic foundational understanding of Ableton. Great. So y'all come do this class then, huh? Y'all can come teach it. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. Okay. Go ahead, Ty.
Yeah. So I personally use Ableton multiple ways. And that has depended on the artist I'm working with or church, because I worked with different churches, obviously. So to keep it quick, I'm just going to talk through just the way I have my personal session set up. And we can always talk later. We'll shoot resources. We have everyone's emails if you registered, so we can send you guys resources as well, or further things to think about or to talk about amongst you and your team at the church, for other things you could do. But this is going to be a session I have open now. Dang.
Slight flex. Jonathan Traylor's show that he put together. It's a little slight flex, a little bit. If you know who Jonathan Traylor is, he's an artist. He put this together for him.
Yep. So in this session is going to be an arrangement view. Who uses arrangement view at church? 1, 2, 3, 4.
Arrangement view is this, right?
Right. Yep.
Hit
arrangement
that tab.
view is that left to right, but it's going to be a little bit of a delay probably.
It's okay.
All right, cool.
Did it switch for you?
Yep.
Session view.
Session view. Session view is the when you hit tab, it's just the view with channel strips instead of the left to right audio that you would see in Pro Tools and Logic and stuff.
Who uses session view?
Who uses session view at church? Christian.
What's up, boss?
Yeah, we're just running tracks with her. Yeah. I think both of them are great. Obviously, depending on what you need to use them for. But for today, I'm just going to be talking about arrangement view, which is the left to right audio. And the session I'm using today is a rather large session. I have maybe, I think I'm close to 300 tracks on this one.
Y'all can't do that in Logic. System overload.
And I try to set up Ableton in a way that lets me succeed as an MD2. I'm gonna zoom in here and then talks until it catches up. Online, you guys can see this right away though. Tracy, what do you think about hooking this TV up directly to the laptop?
Do it.
Just so that in the room we can just be instant. Is that possible, you think?
Yes. That's what I was going to say. Like, you could just keep talking as if, because it's changing for you. It'll be a delay for them.
That's fine.
But yeah.
Yep. If something didn't make sense, just go watch the stream. They'll be like, oh, yeah. All right, cool. All right, so at the top of my sessions in arrangement view, I always like to put a marker track. This is something I know Tracy does as well, right? And that is just to have a visual kind of thing as the track's going. So when I'm MDing, I have a 2-tier stand. I'm a keyboard player, so I'll talk from that perspective. Obviously, if you're a bass player, guitar player, you might have something like this, like a little table on a stand. But I use a keyboard stand, 2-tier, and the second tier has like a piece of wood, like a shelf, kind of like your style. And I have the computer on the shelf, like right in my face, as well as like a MIDI controller, which I brought, and it's around here. Anyway, and I have other peripherals, like I have an iPad and some other things because I'm also controlling my in-ear mix at the same time. So since the computer's in my face, I have this marker. I have the marker track there. I'm gonna grab this. Thanks, babe.
That's his wife.
Yep, clap it up for my wife Ashley in the back.
Who he's
doing
calling
sound.
babe. Thanks, babe.
Yep. Don't even start. This is the MIDI controller I'm using right now for Ableton. It's called a MIDI Fighter Twister. And it is a combination of buttons and knobs and lights. So I have, each button can operate as like a button. You can press them and you can turn them. So you have 16 of those and you have 4 pages of this. And then there are lights around the outside that sync up. So when you open it, like when I open up my Ableton session, just the current volumes in Ableton will sync up automatically to this. So I can pick up right where I left off, which comes in handy. But that's what I'm using right now. If anyone had any questions, and you can definitely check this out later. It's called a MIDI Fighter Twister. I also love it because it's nice and small. I toss it right in my book bag. It's not like long or crazy shaped or anything like that. Anyway, at the top of my Ableton session is my markers track. And the reason I do this at the top is just so that, all right, cool. Is that cool?
Yep.
Okay, back to the marker track for the third time. And I have a marker track at the top. I'll talk about how I set that up, but basically that's just to, as an MD, I can see things coming. Sometimes when you're using, I'm just talking about using tracks, like A to Z. I'm not doing anything fancy for this. I'm not looping sections or jumping around at all. This is just so that way, as a MD, I'm on top of it. Say, because, if you have a song going, sometimes it's not good to wait until you hear the chorus, 2, 3, 4, and then the chorus starts. With the marker track, I can see that coming way in advance as the bars are as the screen is moving across from left to right. I can see, hey, I have 4 measures until that chorus comes. And sometimes if it's a complicated song or I'm working with a band that may not be as like that might be not necessarily A-list musicians, maybe a little lower. I can cue them up faster, like, hey guys, the chorus is coming. Let's, things like that. I can say, little cues like that. I can drop like that. Cool. Also, one of the things for being an MD is being able to work real fast on the fly. And it looks like everything's mirrored. Can everyone see that? I might zoom in a little bit more. A little bit better? All right, cool. So for example, this very first song here, I like to do colors. So to do a marker track, like the way I would do it in my style, is I create a new MIDI channel. And then all these are just MIDI clips. And I color code them you can right click on them and change colors. So I have certain colors assigned to sections. Like I know verse is one color, chorus is a color, and I could do this for all the songs. And I'll show you how in 1 second. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit. Obviously, this is my way of doing it. Hopefully, you'll see something I do and be like, that's a cool idea. Now let me make it mine. That's what I would prefer for you guys to do. Take something I'm doing and then make it your own. Make it your own colors or something like that. Alrighty, so I have. Let me go over here to see a victory people are probably more familiar with. So, like for example, I have a counting, I have a verse, I have a tag, I have a chorus, an interlude, a verse 2, tag, chorus. These are normal things. Now, if I open up, everyone know how to open up the left side menu. It's cut off a little bit there. I actually have a folder called markers, and in this folder, I have basically little MIDI clips of every section already done. So when I'm building my song, I could just drag and drop chorus, verse, chorus, and the color's already there. It's already there. I'm just dragging and dropping them. So like, for example, this chorus wasn't here. I could go over here on the left to chorus, drag and drop that thing right in there, and it's ready to go already.
Is that these are just templates? This is not specific to this song, correct?
Yep, these are just, they have name, a color, and I think the default, they're all maybe 8 measures long or something.
Got it.
They're just MIDI clips. And I'll open up a session like this. For Sunday, you have between 3 to 5 songs. Some churches might do 6. We'll talk about that, but I'll just make a marker trap across the whole top, and I'll drag and drop those in. Now you can also copy and paste them from other sessions. You might have a session with just that song in there that you're working on for that Sunday, and then at the top of that session for that one song, you can have your markers in there that you can copy and paste them into a master session with all the songs in there. I'm not trying to go too deep, so we're just going to cover basic stuff, and yeah, we can talk about more stuff later too.
So I'm glad you said that. So who has a master session? Anybody got a master session with all your files, all your songs, everything, right? And where do you keep that? Do you keep it on the computer? Thank you. External hard drive. Keep everything on the external hard drive. Matter of fact, 2 of them if you can. At least multiple
really
to have backups. And again, having that master session, you'll be able to access everything. And Ableton is a pretty strong workhorse, so it can handle it all. But I just wanted to make sure everybody understand that. And online as well, if you don't already get a master session where you have all of your files and back them up, I back mine's up to cloud. So I don't care where I'm at, I can be able to pull my things. Keep going.
I don't think we can say backup enough.
I
know so many people who lose so much work just from silly things, that could be easily avoided with backups. Yeah. Let me see.
One, 2, 3, 4.
All right, so in addition to my marker track, right underneath it, I have a tempo track. In arrangement view, this is kind of important. Do you guys use tempo tracks, which is audio files? I know this is sometimes a little bit more advanced. Someone who jumps into Ableton probably wouldn't do this. It's basically just I use this track to tell Ableton what BPM the session is at. And you do that. If you don't do that, it's simply an audio file. That's the length of the song. I'm gonna go down here in the bottom. It's usually blank audio. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit here. And it's set to the leader. Well, it's warped first. And then I also have it set to leader with the BPM right here underneath it. If you can see, I'm making the mouse a little bit bigger right here. Just something, if it's something that's new to you, go ahead and just look it up once this is finished. It's really easy to do, and it can help you save time when building sessions. You're not down there drawing automation for BPM and tempo, stuff like that.
Also, So if you go to your tracks, go to your tracks.
Yep.
No. Like,
I'll go to it.
yeah. So like scroll down to your tracks. Yeah. Right. So this is Sea of Victory with all the tracks and everything in it. Hypothetically, you upload everything in there or whatever. Another thing you could do is go to click track, go to your clip.
Mm-hmm.
So imagine none of this. No. So imagine none of these were here. Go to your actual like song files. All right. So you are using a click track from the actual files from this.
I might have an audio clip. I have one right here.
Right. So imagine you upload. So if you purchase or download multitracks.com or whatever, sometimes you could just click their sessions and do that. But let's say you doing it manually and you upload your own session or whatever, and you got their files. Go to click track the same way he just talked about with this one. You can go to that one and warp it and set that one as lead. Obviously, it would need to be set to the right time. So like whatever the tempo of the song is. But again,
I would press warp and type it in right down here, 77.5, and then press leader. That'd be the process to get there.
Yeah. And I usually do it to the click, like whatever the click track is already bounced out, whatever audio click it is. And then that's now my lead. So if the click is in there, it's guiding the way.
It's a great start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense to everybody? That much?
What's up?
Yep. So it basically tells Ableton, hey, this is going to be the master source for the data I just entered in, which in this case is the BPM. So now if you scroll up here in the top corner where the BPM, now it's grayed out and there's a little red circle up at the top, which means it's the master BPM is not the leader anymore. It's somewhere else. So that's like the first sign that you know that something has been changed. So yeah, so instead of it being like 120, for all the way across for all the songs, you can have every song have its own BPM, which comes in handy if you're doing like time-based effects, things like that. I do some MIDI stuff in some sessions and it's time-based as well. So rather than going on the, the master channel and drawing automation, it's a super fast way to do that, automatically with the click file, like you said, and it's only 1, 2, like 3 steps maybe, or 3 buttons to change.
Is that how you do it?
Yeah. Yes.
So when we did that camp a couple weeks ago, that's why your thing was throwing me off because I wasn't used to that.
Gotcha.
That's the way he's doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's always in Ableton is like 10 ways to do the same thing. So
also Ableton has like 10 ways to do a certain thing. Also, if you do something out of order, that can offset Ableton to whereas it doesn't function properly. So there are a number of different ways to do it, but it's also very finicky in how you do it too. So make sure you're doing things in the proper order, in the proper chain of command.
Yep, because you don't want to be there standing a Sunday morning, service starts in 10 minutes, and you're scrambling trying to figure out what happened, what changed.
Yeah.
So I'll like hash stuff out during the week so heavy, like set up exactly how I need it, test it, make sure there's no errors, no skips, things like that. Test it with your interface, all that kind of stuff, because then when Sunday comes, it's so much easier. So we talked about the tempo track. We also talked about the click, so I'm not going to show that. In my session, I'm using a click instrument instead of the audio click. I'll just show you that quick. So it's just a MIDI file, basically like for each note. The only reason I do that is just because sometimes I just don't like the audio clicks sometimes that come from places. If you buy tracks from like Loop Community, multi-track, sometimes I want less clicks. I want less subdivisions, or I want extra subdivisions in that click depending on the type of song. And with MIDI notes, I can just add notes if I need to. So it's not a right or wrong way. It's just the way I've been doing it. And I also do it that way because every song, the click track is the same volume. Yep. Because a lot of times, different songs, different places, different click sounds, louder, quieter. Instead of having to spend time trying to balance all that out, one same click sound for everything.
And is this Suite or is this 11? What version is this?
I'm using Ableton 10 right now.
10. All right. So obviously, I started doing Ableton many versions ago, and some of these options weren't available, and so I had to like figure out how to navigate some of those things. And so I put a gate and a compression rather on the audio click channel to make sure that all the audio was consistent.
That works
across.
great too.
Say it again.
That works great.
Yeah.
That works great.
So whichever version you may be on, if you don't have like 10 or 11 or whatever, and you just using like standard version from 8 versions ago, just another technique is put a compression on that channel so that now everything is compressed and consistent volume wise. So even if the file is 10 dB louder than the other one, when the compression is on the channel. So if you go to the other view real quick for me. So if you open up your tab, so like hit yeah.
Wait, what? I was like, what? Oh, okay, gotcha.
So like they have the different options for like, and you could just throw a compressor. You could do a regular, whatever. Point is, you could throw a compression on one of the files on the tracks, and then you could EQ it. Fix the level so that everything be consistent.
Yep.
That makes sense.
Not necessarily not using a compressor in the way that you normally would, where like you're raising up,
right,
and then compressing. It's more of just a kind of a cutoff, or kind of using it as more of a limiter than an actual compressor.
Limiter. That's what I meant to say anyway.
Did you just build that click thing by yourself, or are you using something else?
Nope. This is called Foundations. I believe it was developed by Will Doggett, who used to work at Multitracks, and now he's like an independent
doing his own
thing. Yeah. So I'm not sure if he sells it or if they still do, but that's the guy who invented
Designed
that.
it.
Yep.
Yep.
That's where I bought it from him. Yep. So for this song, I do have an audio click. I usually keep my audio clicks in the sessions just as backups and timing things. Anyway, in this particular session, I am. Tracy likes to have. Tracy likes to. He'll have like all your normal tracks, but then every song is on the same tracks.
Yep.
Right, and then you'll do volume balances in the clips, right? Or like if any adjustments if needed to the clips themselves.
Well,
right?
that and or again throwing the same limiter or compression on the actual audio channel so that for example, if I got tracks from Loop Community, those are sometimes not master files, right? Those are some tracks that somebody else created, and they may not have been like exported at the same gain as some of the multi-tracks. So if you put those all on the same channel, you may see like, even if you just look at the waveform, this is massively louder than the multi-track stems. And so if you throw that limiter on there and the compression on there, it'll balance them out. So although they're coming in hotter, it's balanced out that way.
Exactly. I'm not doing that in this session, however. In this session, I forget how many songs are on here. It might be like 20 or so. But for each song, I put it has all its own tracks, and they're all in a group. The reason is this is just so on the fly, if I need something more or less, I can go to especially if you're really quick and just do the faders. I'm not tweaking a ton of stuff, which it's just this for the purpose of this session, that's what was needed.
Right.
So I'm gonna scroll down to so I have the group down here, Sea of Victory. This is the Sea of Victory / What a Beautiful Name. Yep.
Can you go to that transition?
Yep. Really quick though, I like the colors that Multitracks uses. So I'll tend to use those colors on everything. I'll just color everything the same way. Obviously, whatever color coordination you guys like to do is good, but as long as you're using colors, it really helps speed up workflow too. If you know, like, hey, if you're looking for something fast, you're like, oh, I know my bass is always, synth bass is this color, or the guitar tracks are the blue and things like that. So when you get your little, when I get my little folder of tracks or whatever, my zip folder, and I open it up and I drag and drop them into my master session, then I'll color those based on the colors I'm already familiar with using. And this particular song has like some extra stuff in there too. So sometimes people need extra stuff. Like at my church, we'll track extra stuff and put it in with the tracks that are there already, or we'll shift take things out, delete something and change it. I'll gather all the audio and then make sure it's all in the right places inside of the Ableton session. I'm not dragging from the desktop and this file from the documents. I'll get all those files in a folder, put those inside the Ableton folder where the session is first, just for file management purposes. Because moving sessions around and the audio is not all there can it can really mess you up. Another fun shortcut is if you go to File, go to Collect All and Save. Anything that you use from a random place, it'll pull it all into that one folder. Especially because, like, if I'm out of town and I need someone else to handle the duty, they can't show up on Sunday, open the session, and half the audio is missing.
I had somebody send me their Ableton session, and they did. Can you put that drop down menu one more time? Pull it up. Nah, the one you were just in. Yeah, file.
Oh yeah, I got you.
So they did save live set, and then they sent me their session, and
It had no audio.
Had nothing in it. It was just like all blank files, and I'm like, "Yo, what are you doing here? What is this?" And this was like 8 years ago, so I'm like, I don't even know what's going on right now. And so I had to realize, like, oh, you actually have to collect all and save. So it collects all the files in there, all the audio clips, everything, so that then you're actually setting everything you need within that session. So if you ever had that situation, make sure you collect all, right? And get all of that data, get all of that information, and then send it or do whatever you need to do with it.
Yeah, it's definitely the worst feeling in the world is you get something and you open it up and it's all missing.
Yes.
Like, wow, I have to use this session in like 30 minutes.
Yep.
Or an hour or something.
Yep. Been there, done that. Don't want to ever do it again.
I'll talk also really quick about routing. So I have like I talked about, I have my tempo tracks, my markers. I got the click down here. I got all the files all nice and ugly. Anyway, at your church, well, at least for the people who are still watching, and are
about to say,
and in the room, at church, for your audio interface, how many channels? Just throw out some numbers. How many channels do you run usually? You run 15? Okay, cool. Anyone else? 10. All right. Anyone else? No numbers? 0? 16? How many do you run on a typical Sunday?
Well, I know you're in my church, but it depends on which church I'm in.
Just throw a number out.
8.
Okay. 6? You guys use Ableton? How many channels do you like to use?
They're in the process of.
Oh, yeah. You guys use tracks at all right now?
Yeah.
How many channels do you use? Like on your interface or to the sound system, I guess. Okay, gotcha.
Stereo
like
out.
2. Okay.
Yep.
Cool. At my church right now, I'm running like maybe 11. But obviously, like you said, like everyone has a different number. So what if I have my computer with my songs on here and I'm going to go to each of your churches over the next 10 Sundays? And I don't want to be sweating constantly having to figure out routing, and I have to change 1,000 tracks and things like that. So I use something, I don't use actually the auxes or the buses, but I use additional audio tracks as like kind of like virtual buses. Okay. So I'll show you that really quick in session view. I'm gonna scroll all the way over here to the far end. And I have a click bus, a guide bus, like perk, track, bass, guitars, BGVs, leads, which I don't need today. And that way I know that anytime I go to someone's church or I go somewhere with a different type of routing output or routing situation, I can quickly go from 4 outs to 16 or 1 or 2, or it doesn't really matter. So the way to do this is a little bit more advanced, so definitely try it out when you have time, is you'll create insert an audio track. Like for example, this click bus. I set the monitor to in, and then and the audio is to an external out, and then I'll choose the number, okay? Today, I have 2. So I might set it to 1. Maybe my click's going to be on channel 1 or whatever channel it is. But what makes this special is if I go to all my click channels on all the other songs, the click is set to click bus. It's not set to an external out or anything like that. So I have multiple clicks and things like that. Instead of having to say, for example, I showed up to Christian's church and I'm not going to all my click channels and changing the outputs one at a time, like, or having to highlight them all and do them all at once and then double check to make sure I didn't miss anything. Instead, I'll just go to my click bus, change one thing, all the clicks are done. Go over here to percussion stuff. All the percussion is routed to the right place. So for me, organizing wise, that's really been helpful to me. Tracy, what do you like to do for any type of organization for outputs?
So again, as you already mentioned, I run all of my stems together. Like, so all the songs are all on the same audio channels. And so once they're set, they're pretty set. So like it's one click channel for me. So I'm just running that click channel to wherever the click would be going. And I wanted to clarify to see if we all understood what he was saying. So like, he's created a return like send and sending everything into that one bus. And then everything coming out of that one bus is going to this one channel. Does that make sense? Which my process is a little different in that I'm running everything on one channel. So I only have to change that one channel. But I think this
versus like change, instead of having to change all your guitars one by one or highlighting them all or whatever, I'm just trying to visually just make it simpler for people. Yep. So obviously, like we said, we both have a totally different way of doing it.
Yes. His might be a little better, y'all.
Maybe not. Maybe so.
I just been doing it a little long.
So I'm just gonna hit play. All right. So currently playing.
Can you pause right quick 1 second?
Yep,
go
go
back
ahead.
to where you were with your bus outs. So I just want to clarify something else too. Like, so if you go back to, and you can stop it, but if you go back to your outs right here, open it up. So if you go to this and you're like, yo, where are all my channels? You have to go into configuration and you have to like select these so that they can become available. Right now, he's only using the two
I have
outs.
2 today.
Right, but if he was connected to a track rig, he would have to configure it so that those become available, so that he can send them out to those. Does that make sense?
Is everyone familiar with configuring your interface with outputs?
No. See,
I'll do it really quick then.
Yeah.
If you go up to live, go to preferences, then click on audio tab. I'll zoom in a little bit. Click on the audio tab. You'll see an audio input and an audio output device option. And it'll just show, and if you click on the list, it just shows everything currently attached to the computer. So I have a lot of things. Sorry.
But so for example, ScreenFlow has 4 in, 4 out. This has 32 out. So if he goes into
I'll go to DVS just for example purposes. Then.
Yep. And then if you go to output configuration,
boom.
None of those are selected. So if he goes back to his window, he's still not going to see those channels available. He has to select them, whether he wants stereo or mono. He has to select them in order to make it available.
Yep, they have to be.
Does it make sense? So if you like, yo, I can't, where are my channels at? You have to go into configuration to make them available.
Yep. Because if I go to there now, it still says 1 and 2, even though I have 32 available.
Right.
To turn them on, you just click the name, they turn yellow. You just turn on the ones you need or don't need, or all of them, depending what. That's how you would do that in Ableton. And it's a similar process in like people that you're going to run. If you're running Pro Tools, Logic, it's the same type of thing. You just don't have to turn them on. They're usually just all available.
Don't use Logic to run y'all tracks.
The only reason Ableton has that option is because each output available uses CPU. So if you're not going to use all of them, leave them off, and then you'll save power for the computer running tracks.
That's a very strong and good note. Can you say it again?
Every input and output enabled uses CPU on your computer. So by having the option to disable them, you save power for the actual thing you want to use, which is going to be running tracks without skipping and stopping and things like that. Other DAWs don't have that option, such as like Logic and Pro Tools. They're either all on or all off.
And that's why Logic frequently says, hey, we're overloaded. We can't control. We can't handle
I like a lot of
this."
programs, so I'm not trying to trash talk too many of them.
I said what I said.
All right. So yeah, so I'll hit play again real quick. So as you can see here,
You got to go back to your interface.
I sure do. Look at that. I would have just failed the service.
And that's another note, y'all. Like, he was playing it and it was showing up there, but he wasn't hearing anything. Like, freak out moments, like, oh no, what's going on? Like, and start running and like spazzing. Like, as an MD, you have to keep your composure and critically think, like, yo, why isn't this working right now?
Yeah. If I have problems, I think backwards.
Exactly.
Start the interface. Is the interface connected? It's plugged in? Cool. What's next? Make sure the outputs are selected. Make sure it's enabled as the device. And then keep working your way back. Is something muted? You know, you just keep working away, usually from the hardware all the way back to the software. 90% of the time, it's going to be something to do with the hardware, though.
Because another point, so like right now he's running it from which view? Arrangement view?
Yes, sir.
Right. So you could be looking at this and it could be running and you're like, yo, everything is running, but it's playing from session view. And so you won't hear what's coming from this side.
Yep.
Show him because he's looking like I'm speaking foreign language. No, it's all good. no, I got you. So like it could play. So if you play, you don't have anything in the range. So
but so in Ableton, you can run audio from this side as well as the other side.
Yes.
And sometimes you can mix. If you have too much stuff in there, Ableton will get confused. You might hit play one place and it plays somewhere else. And so sometimes this audio can get mixed up. I know it's a little different than a lot of DAWs.
Yeah. So if you hit play, regardless of if the tracks are coming from session or arrangement, arrangement is always going to run like that way. And so it could be looking like it's running from over there, but the audio that it's getting is from this view. Yep. And so you have to make sure you enable whichever one you want the audio to actually come from, because it yeah.
I was just gonna say that's part of why I always say, like, work out at home how you want to do it. You should be comfortable how it's working at home. Then when you get to church or rehearsal, then you would be, you know, hopefully in a place where you're not gonna have too many problems. Rehearsal is a great place to kind of get stuff sorted out as well. Really good. And sometimes I'll tell people who are new to Ableton or new to just tracks, don't use them in service for a while. Just use them in rehearsal. Just use them for rehearsal for maybe a couple of weeks, get people used to them, get yourself used to them. Then, all right, here's the jump. We're going to use them on Sunday.
And do it at home. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
Like shed at home Ableton like you shed your instrument at home. Like,
absolutely.
Because
especially if they're MD and you're the one in charge. Yeah.
Yeah, because most of us don't have a dedicated like tracks person who's running the tracks. We got to do it at the same time. And like Brittany has been leading worship and like in terms of when like I'll be MDing and then somebody get off the tracks. And now I have to like manually get us back on while still playing. You know what I'm saying? And while still like telling the band, like, y'all keep going, I got it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and so shed at home, navigating Ableton, so you build the, you know, that skill of just getting around.
One hand skills.
Yeah.
If you're playing guitar,
you fixed.
Oh man.
You stuck.
That's a tough one. Yeah.
Or drums. Woo.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough one right there.
We're gonna do a vocal break. Just everybody just sing. Let me.
Yeah, that's. I mean, basically in a nutshell, that's how I have this session set up. Hopefully, there are some ideas in there for you that you can try out. I think this session, like I said, I think it has like maybe 20-something songs.
This
so
this little medley of the songs,
so.
That was how the tracks were exported in terms of like the song was built out that way and then imported into there.
Yep.
So like you got this saved somewhere else, right?
Yeah, go crazy.
So like part of the reason why I do run them all together is because when I'm building out sets, like fluidity and transitions are really important to me. And so like when you build them out together, you can crossfade, right? So
Yep.
like I'm gonna just act like these songs weren't already built together, right? And so let's say we go first of all, pause.
Yep, gotcha, bro. Yeah, just open up the. Mhm. Get all the tracks.
So let's say I want to like just change the entire format of the song. We starting, or let's do this. Can y'all see the marker where it is? You see that's all like highlighted and selected. So I'm gonna quickly delete all of that, and hopefully you won't notice. All right. Is this not they're not warped though, are they? Nope. That's why it didn't work. That's cool. Nevertheless, the point is like when you in Ableton, if you wanted to like make the songs flow a little better, you could do that and then crossfade it so that it doesn't sound. And what I mean by crossfade is like, so yeah, you could do that. It has to be warped. That's exactly why. I don't know if y'all saw it, but when I took those sections out, the track just kind of like went away. And it's because the tracks themselves are not warped. And so it can.
A crossfade would kind of be something like this, where you have 2 points that come
Yep.
together.
Yep.
And I guess visually, you could just grab one of these pointers.
Yep.
And kind of drag it.
So you see how this. Yep.
Yep.
So essentially, if he did that on one of these other tracks where there's actually audio happening, like stuff happening there. So like
something like that.
Right. So like, and then just drag it over. Yep.
You know, something that wouldn't originally make sense.
So can you solo that?
Yeah, sure.
Take the crossfade off.
Yep.
Now, technically, that didn't sound too bad, but we trying to make it sound bad. But in another world, he would crossfade this over, or that way. Yep.
I was like, there's so many ways to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You could highlight something and just use a keyboard shortcut,
Right?
Or manually just grab one of these. Manually
Whoa.
grab these little squares that show up in the top, and then
Yeah.
just drag it over.
So like
And
drag
make
it to that. Yeah. All right, and then play it. So it's a lot smoother. Right? So imagine like a vocal track or a guitar track where somebody's singing whatever, and then he crossfades it so it sounds more natural, it sounds more real than like, oh, what was that?
Hard stops.
Yeah,
We
hard
want to
stop.
avoid those.
Yes.
As someone listening or worshiping, something just stops. It's like jarring. Almost.
Exactly.
We're all about, as an MD, you're trying to create a atmosphere.
Yeah.
Things like hard stops and something just cutting out is distracting, honestly.
Yeah.
So we avoid those as much as possible.
Totally. Yeah. And so again, like we can get into now he kind of showed y'all a very robust session. Reach out to me or Tyler, or we'll be sending y'all some stuff. But if you want to learn like the most basic form of even how to like put stuff in Ableton, like we can help you with that too. Because we have like Brittany, who's a worship leader, Ashley, she probably already know from Tyler. But Britt, if you ever wanted to learn like how do I build out a session where like I'm doing a gig by myself and I don't have like a band, or maybe it's just me and Nat, and she on guitar. Like I can build out an Ableton session with full stems, with everything, backing vocals and everything else, and it's just us, and you can have a complete full experience. That's yeah. I'm telling you,
It's like it's so much to talk about in Ableton. Kind of like we need so much time to do it.
Yeah.
And hopefully, just today is kind of just getting the start of it, the start of asking questions, the start of those kind of things, and then maybe down the line we'll do another one of these. People have also been asking about like mentoring. Like, how do I find a mentor if I'm in a city where I'm like the man already? You know?
Yeah. Somebody has said that they're at a mega church and they're the music director already, and they don't even have. And that church, it has influence, but he doesn't have anyone where he can like glean from or grow from and connect with. And so, thank God that we live in 2022, because there are not as many like restrictions in terms of proximity, whereas back in the day they were sending emails through doves, right? Like now we could text somebody and get information, or we can FaceTime somebody, or we can stream in video chat with one of the world's greatest music directors. And so again, now we have technology that works really in our favor where we can connect. And so for everybody that did connect and did identify with wanting mentorship, we will be reaching out. And I wanted to say this earlier. I meant to say this earlier. We'll be doing a clinic for worship leaders too. So like, and we'll probably dedicate even more time, but we'll be doing it where worship leaders can learn and grow and glean as well. So be on the lookout for that. Go ahead. What was you about to say?
You pretty much covered it. Also, I recommend in the Ableton side, there's a great video on YouTube that is a rundown of Elevation's Ableton setup. If you're interested more about what LJ was talking about in terms of like multiple computers and they have their offstage operator for Ableton, things like that, definitely check that out. If you just want to be inspired,
we'll send that out.
Yeah.
So we'll send you the link for that
Yeah.
when we send out.
Definitely check it out when that link comes. If you want to be like, wow, I could really do something cool. It's all about inspiration. We want to, you stand on our shoulders because we stood on someone else's.
Yep. And with respect to Elevation is a multi-million-dollar operation where most of us are working off a multi-$100 operation. And so we have to keep in perspective, like, y'all, we don't have that. So how can we make what we have work for our setting, for our context? Whether it's having a stereo channel output or 20-something, 32 channel output, how do I make it work for my setting? And figuring out what works best for you. Even here, they have 4 channels. So click, guide, and stereo output of all the track stuff. So again, stay tuned, stay connected. I meant to tell y'all to do this earlier too, but do me a favor if you haven't. I think everybody in here has registered. If there's anybody still online that hasn't registered, register, because we're going to be sending this email out with that link and some other
resources, just a ton of resources
later on. So get connected. And while you're still in the room, if you're in the room, if you want to just directly come and connect, I'm going to ask Pastor Cope to come speak and pray for us before we get out of here, and just pray us out of here. Come on, Pastor Cope. He like, wait, what? Y'all got the other mic? Thank you. He said he gonna get me.
Good evening. How are you guys doing? I'm always amazed how God and how he works. This was not on my program to come here today. My wife and I are celebrating our 40th anniversary. And I just happened to ask about my son here, and my daughter told me what he was doing today. I said, well, okay, well, let's go. And I had no idea. And I'm saying it because God works in magnificent ways. He's unpredictable, and so he works unpredictable ways. So I want to say thank you. Thank you, God. Thank you, my brother. I'm in a position now, I'm a pastor of a church that's about to be going into the mega area right now. And I was over the music department, and God took me out and made me a pastor. And I said, and I'm always asking, so what are you doing now, God? What's going on now? But he has a way of hushing you and giving you a hush spirit and telling you to be quiet. I want to show you something. And I'm amazed what he does. He goes from one area to one area. Last week, this time, I had no idea that I was going to be here. But he brought me in at a certain time when my brother was talking about what he was talking. We're about to go into that now. We're doing it, but not doing it accurately right this moment. And I was at the very beginning. I was in the car listening to you, so don't think I was behind. I was in the car listening to you.
I saw y'all had tuned in. Brittany she was chiming in.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm in the emphasis now with my ministry with them, is with my band people as well with choir people, is to get to know their individual lives from Monday through Friday, not Sunday, but Monday through Friday. How you live your life, how you deal with circumstances, pouring new wine into new wine skins, and not being, when you don't know what you're doing, is to be quiet and allow him talk with you. Band people sometimes have an emphasis of worshiping their instrument and not the God we serve, and they seem to idolize the instrument. And I needed to know what they are doing on Monday through Friday at 10 o'clock at night. I need to know how they're receiving what God wants to tell them to do, how they're listening to the minister who's about to speak, how the anointing. What is the anointing? Oh, I'm not going to get started now. I'm going somewhere. I'm going somewhere I shouldn't be. But I would like to thank you. Thank you. Thank God for allowing my brother to come in my life in a magnificent, peculiar way. I don't know how he did it, but he did it. And I want to thank you for your teaching. Very good. Very, very, very good. And I want to thank you for God for bringing me here in Chicago, here in this church, when I was somewhere else. I had no idea I was going to be here.
Can I say how you're an answered prayer for me too? Just 2 weeks ago, I was sharing with someone how oftentimes I feel like a bastard in the literal sense, like fatherless child. And so when he was trying to surprise me, but Brittany spoiled the surprise and told me that you were coming. But literally last week, I was telling someone about how I feel that way oftentimes. And so you just coming, that was God answering literally a prayer.
And that's how he works.
Yes.
That's how he does it. Amen. Amen. Any questions that my beautiful wife, she's back there, 40 years.
Woo!
Yes. Yes, I will. In the name of Jesus, we first thank you for this perfect, wonderful day that you made. Everything has been planned out. All we have to do is to listen and to be sensitive to your anointing and to hear your voice. So God, I pray, Father, that the inner man will be fed in the name of Jesus, that we will understand that everything that's small will be made big when we place it in your hands. And God, I ask you in the name of Jesus that you touch each and every one of us that does individual things to uplift your kingdom, Father. It's about bringing the lost into the kingdom. And you're finding unique ways to bring new people into the kingdom who know nothing about you, who have given up on church, who know nothing, don't want to know nothing. Their lives are going down, trying to get it back up. You are finding unique ways to do this, to get back the people into your kingdom. So bless the people that are under the sound of my voice. However way they want to be used, they are available to be used. They stand there asking, what must I do, Lord, to lift you up higher? So we bless this, that this will become more and more and bigger, that this will be an internet and a way of coming into a door that has been opened, and that we're able to walk through this door, that many musicians, many people who don't even know what to do and how to do it, there'll be a door that's open, that my brother, that you have given to his spirit, that will be open, that they can walk through, Lord Jesus. Audio, a way to conduct yourself, a way to represent you among your people that said there's life in just trusting you, Jesus. So bless this meeting, bless this beginning workshop that's going to grow into mega, that's going to grow and grow and grow. And we're going to look back and see how you have done it in such a glorious way to give you the glory, not us, but to give you the glory. In the name of Jesus, we all agree in this prayer. May us we all say, amen.
Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all.
Yep. Any last minute questions for me and Tracy? Just feel free to come up. Feel free to come up if any further things. But yeah, appreciate it, you all.
Wait, what was it, May 3rd? I know there's something that weekend. I was out of town for something.
Yeah, sure.
And I was like, I want to reply to this. And I mentally did, and then they did. I did the same thing. No, but we are going to hang out.
Okay,
we are hanging out.
I mean, I like, we can do music together too, but we can also hang. Right, no, you good.
My bad. We're hanging out.
Yeah. How's Brian doing, baby? And
baby, we have Victoria now.
Okay. Is that her? That's her baby too?
Yeah. She's like a month old, right?
Officially now a month.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
no.
Nice. Have y'all seen, like, do y'all see her a lot?
Yeah. She's so cool.
Yeah.
Good show.
I've seen pictures from Suki, so.
Yeah.
Thank you. That was awesome.
Oh, appreciate it.
It's really good. Yeah, it's really good. Good to see you. Yeah, of course.
I'm not even playing.
Whoever don't listen, let me know.
I know that's right. Tracy. So you do this with Ableton?
So she mainly does that right now.
Okay.
That's why I picked her. I literally don't know. Other than nothing. That was loop and runs it. They do like a week behind.
Nice. Okay. Y'all ever like get any singers on like musicals kind of get more flexible these days?
I hate toes too. Honestly, toeways, that's exactly why they tell you. It's the quickest way.
It's the quick. You text me back.
Everything.
I heard right, exactly. I'm just like that.
Hilarious. I can't.